the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Blues tonight by a score of 7-3. They take a 2-1 season series lead on the rivals here, and the Blues and Blackhawks will meet in April to wrap up the season series. It's off to Utah, another Central Division matchup coming up for the Blues on Friday as the Blues try to rebound from this one here tonight.
That's what it sounded like last night. Some are calling it the worst loss of the Blues season. I don't know who exactly that is, but some are indeed saying that. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. Get involved in the show at 314-399-9646 as well. Alex, I'm going to go ahead and lay this thing out for you. Blues lose 7-3 on the road in Chicago against a team that was down, I don't know, two of their best players. What happened? And why do you think it was the worst loss of the season?
I think it's pretty easy to see why it was the worst loss of the season. Go ahead and look at the starting lines for that combination. Does anybody know who Landon Slaggert is?
Of course.
Does anybody know who Louis Crevier is?
Yes.
What about Connor Murphy?
That one I'm familiar with.
Because all three of them scored goals. Their first of the season, their third of the season, and their fourth of the season. The Chicago Blackhawks in the last month, Brandon, month, had scored the second fewest goals in the National Hockey League. How many did they score last night?
7.
They also had allowed the sixth most goals in the National Hockey League in the last month. How many did they allow last night?
2.
Nope, 3.
3.
You stopped watching at that time. I turned it off in the second, but I'm actually sitting here watching it. I look at the lineup that you went up against without Connor Bedard and without Frank Nazar, two of their best players, where Tyler Bertuzzi and some kid who was playing college last year was on the top line.
I like that kid.
Who's that?
Oliver Moore?
He was on the second line. The top line was this green kid. I don't know. Played in college last year, and now he's playing
in college last year.
He's playing on the top line with
I was
Burke.
very impressed by Oliver Moore last night.
He
could play.
That's one of those first-round picks that are starting to develop into a core piece for that team. Defensively, they had their guys, but their guys, again, had allowed the 6th fewest goals in the National Hockey League. Their best player you went up against last night was their goaltender, and he showed it most times. But I'll add on to this. You had 3 days off with 2 full practices. Camp Monty, it's kind of like what they had in the Four Nations break last year. 3 days off. And you went into that game looking for your first 3-game win streak of the season, and you were outplayed beyond the first 5 minutes of that hockey game. Your goaltending did not make the saves for you. Your team in front of the goaltending was awful. Offensively, you got goals from Tyler Tucker, Nathan Walker, and Otto Stenberg. Robert Thomas had 0 shot attempts, with the exception of the last 5 minutes of that hockey game. So I look at that, and they've had some bad losses, coughing up the 4-goal lead to the Detroit Red Wings, coughing up 2 2-goal leads to the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm here to admit those were bad losses. I must have a Ferrario power ranking going in my mind.
So there'd be a lot of them.
That took the cake last night of the worst loss this season. That, if you want to label rock bottom, to me, that's rock bottom.
See, I don't feel that way at all.
Is it because you maybe expected it? Maybe not that bad, but a loss?
Oh, there's no way I expected that against that Blackhawks team without Connor Bedard.
It's just because
I've
it's the
already
Blues.
seen them lose against the Blues, or against the Blackhawks this year. What was that one? 8-2?
Yeah.
Like I've seen this exact performance.
They had Bedard and Nazar in the lineup that game, though.
Sure, but to me, it doesn't matter.
Oh, see, it does for me, because when you go up against a team that is lacking the 2 guys or 3 guys that actually go out there and can strike fear into your team, when they don't have them, your team's not ready to play that game.
They lost in Nashville 7-2.
Yeah, I think when you lose games...
Yeah, Stamkos put 4 goals in.
I think when you lose games like this...
one of the worst teams in the NHL. Maybe the worst.
Were one of the worst teams. Now they've put themselves into although the Blues are still in a playoff position. I mean, I looked through my stat book last night, and I'm looking at all of the lines, the rosters that they went up against. If you just look at it on paper and say, they went up against who? That did not have Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar in there. They went up against a top line that was Tyler Bertuzzi. I think it's Riley Green, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what his name is. Green's the last name. And Burakovsky. That's their top line. Ryan, okay. I knew
Riley's
it was an R.
a baseball player. Ryan, of course,
I actually thought Riley was a country music singer, too. I don't know why, for some reason. But regardless, that was their top line. And that team put 7 up on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's really bad. we're nitpicking here. The fact that we can name multiple of this level of bad performances.
I joked about my power rankings. I have like 10 games to where they would be the worst of the season.
It speaks to how horrible the season has been for the St. Louis Blues. And it's why I said the other day, like, I don't believe in this team. I think they're far closer to a top 3 overall selection than they are a playoff team.
Agreed.
And Doug Armstrong basically made reference to this in the broadcast booth the other night when he was talking with Joey and Curbs, and they asked him, you have, I think at the time, 18 games remaining prior to the Olympic break. How are you evaluating this team? And he was like, I don't look at it as 18 games. I kind of know what this team is. He didn't say it in those exact words, but that was more or less what he was trying to get at. And I think this gets back to the goal differential conversation that we've had a number of times. They said it on the broadcast last night. I think it's 15 of the Blues' 19 losses this season have been by 3 or more goals. That is a jarring statistic. The fact that they have lost by that many goals, that many times, speaks to just giving up in the game. Most NHL games are decided by a goal or two. It's why when you bet on the puck line, it's -1.5 going one way or the other. You don't get very many games decided by 3+, but with the Blues, you do. They are now -43 on the season. To put that in context, Alex, I looked up last night the list of NHL teams over the last decade that have had this kind of goal differential or worse at this point in the regular season and where they ultimately landed in that year's NHL draft lottery. I'm not going to mention the teams because it doesn't much matter, but I'm going to list to you, Alex, where they ultimately landed in the draft lottery. Again, over the last decade, teams that mirror where the Blues are at in goal differential at this point in the season. Number 1, number 2, number 2, number 3, number 1, number 5, number 1, number 2, number 1, number 10.
Oh, God.
Number 1, number 1, number 3, number 1, number 4, number 1, number 5, number 3.
Don't be number 10, please. Don't be number 10.
There's a very clear outlier here. It's the 2021 Ottawa Senators. They were number 10 in the draft lottery standings that year. Everybody else was top 5. That's what the Blues are. And it's time that we all come to terms with it. This is just not a good hockey club. And I don't know what that means for them at the trade deadline, what it means for the core. These are bigger picture conversations. But if we're looking at the here and now, breaking down what last night's game was, it was a representative of who the 2026 St. Louis Blues are. They're not a good hockey club. And that's what it looks like when you put that level of product on the ice night to night.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, everything went wrong in that game. I think somebody already texted in and said, can't wait to hear Alex's excuses for Jordan Binnington. I don't have excuses. There were 2 goals that, in my opinion, he should have made for you. And the biggest one was the Connor Murphy goal. Like, that was a goal that made it 3-2. It was the goal that after that 4 more went in for Chicago. And it was after that goal that it felt like the team just completely wiped away any competitiveness. Your goalie needs to make that save. But it was also, how many tip-ins did you see? How many screens
3.
did you see?
1.
There were... It was abysmal defense in front of him, which is so... It goes to show you the whack-a-mole season, because Montreal and Vegas, the Blues were actually great defensively. They were shutting things down. They were wiping away any ability to get in on them. And then that game just completely laid the egg. And then on top of it, offensively, it was a really good game by Jimmy Snuggerud. He had 10 shot attempts last night. Jordan Kyrou, despite people complaining about him, had 4 shots on goal and got robbed by Spencer Knight twice.
Man, that breakaway opportunity,
that
I
was
thought
a nice
that was
a toe save. That was Binnington-esque from the Stanley Cup.
Ridiculous.
But with all of that being said, these guys also created multiple turnovers in their own end. Oscar Sundqvist laid a pizza up in the middle of the ice that resulted in a goal. Robert Thomas had 0 shot attempts until the final 5 minutes of that hockey game. That was the second worst faceoff team in the last month this season. And they beat you 61 to 39% in the faceoff dot. Your power play had 5 chances last night. 5 chances with a 5-on-3 that was over a minute. You had 6 shots on goal in 5 power plays. They had 3 power plays and had 10 shots on goal and scored on 3 of them.
In that first period, like, we talk a lot about the second period, and you brought it up, Alex, how terrible they've been there.
I think it's minus 26
The first
now.
period, you had an opportunity to take a commanding lead with, I think it was 3 power play opportunities. Did not put a single one of them in the back of the net.
Had the
plenty
shots.
of chances.
Yeah.
Plenty of chances. I think it was like 5 high danger chances on the power plays. Just weren't able to connect on any of them. Last night, you look at the top line. You've mentioned Robert Thomas a number of times. Dude, his line got completely outplayed by the top line of the Chicago Blackhawks. And you've also brought up what that top line looked like for the Blackhawks last night. The Blues top line shouldn't be getting outplayed by them, but they are.
Yeah.
And it's representative of who this team is, where they're at, and the issues that they have faced all season long. This is not an outlier any longer.
And here's the other one for me, too. Last night, the Blackhawks got back to 500 on the season without Bedard and Nazar. They won 4 in a row for the first time this season. Prior to that, it was the first time they won 3 in a row. They played more desperate than you did after 3 days off with 2 full practices.
And apparently they were pretty intense practices. We had heard that they were legit. This was Monty getting after his guys.
Ain't Monty.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. I
don't think this is a locker room problem. No. I don't think this is a chemistry problem. I think this is a your dudes aren't playing well problem.
Yeah. Or not giving enough effort problem.
Your guys you're checked out.
You mentioned the stat they lost whatever it was, 15 of their 19 regulation losses are by 3 or more goals. And Alex said, hey, man, this is a game I did not expect them to lose with that lineup. Man, if you're losing games by 4 or more in the NHL, they've lost, I think it's 4 games by 5 this season in the NHL. And I didn't even count what it would be for 4.
My God.
That's an effort thing, right? And if you're doing that a lot, like the Blues have, odds are that means you're probably able to show up like that on any given night, even if the Blackhawks don't have their 2 best players. So, yeah, not surprising to see that they end up losing like that. It is a roster problem that they have. And maybe not a locker room problem because there's nothing coming out of the locker room, but it's definitely worth questioning the effort when the coach has done it multiple times this year.
Doug Armstrong had a comment at the beginning of the season with the media scrum, and he said, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see games that should be ending 3-2, 4-3 end like we saw last night. And that's a sign of a team that's just not mentally there. And not just last night. 15 of their 19 losses have been by 3 or more goals. That's a team that when things go bad, they get worse. And last night, it got ugly. And to me, I still look at that. That was the worst loss of the season for the Blues.
The Blues have lost this year 5 games by at least 5 goals. 5 different times.
And I would have to think that that's got to be near the top of the league, if not the top.
At the top of the league.
I figured it would.
I guarantee the next closest is by 2 teams?
3. Yeah. The next closest is Anaheim, Chicago, Montreal, Pittsburgh, San Jose. They've all lost 3 games by at least 5 goals this year. Again, the Blues are at 5. I'm going to go ahead and look this up. At this point in the season, how many times did the Blues do this in previous iterations of the roster? Let's go ahead and take a look.
I would think they would have had to do it quite a bit last year, too, because this is kind of what they looked like last year.
Not by 5 or more goals. No way.
I don't know.
They lost, but it was...
How many times do you think they had done it last year?
2.
It's a BK game, 0.
2.
Yeah. They didn't lose this bad. Last year was not an ass-kicking like we've seen this season. When they lose, it's ugly.
Oh, my God. Okay, I'm just going to look up. Is this the most they've ever had?
I don't know if it's the most they've ever had.
I mean, it's the most since, 1992.
At this point in the season.
I was going to say, the 70s were pretty brutal before Bernie Federko got here.
Okay, here we go. We found it. In the 70s.
70s were pretty brutal.
That's how far back you have to go.
I wasn't alive, but I heard they were pretty bad from my dad.
The Blues this season have lost 5 times by 5 or more goals. They also did this in 1977 and in 1978, and they lost 6 games by 5 or more goals in 1975.
70s were bad.
So in the last 40 years, if you are basically 50 years old or younger, you have never seen a Blues hockey team lose this often by this number of goals.
It checks out.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. Can we?
And the league is getting closer in terms of talent.
Compact.
Like, it's getting more compressed. These games are getting closer, not further away, and yet the Blues are doing something that, as an organization, they have not done in nearly 50 years.
And I don't know about those 70s teams because if we're let in with this saying that the 70s were bad. I'm assuming they didn't have, playoff aspirations when the season started.
There was only like 10 or 12 teams in the league, though, at the time. So you had playoff aspirations.
There were still teams that wouldn't have had playoff aspirations.
I don't know. I think everyone had playoff aspirations. It was just a matter of could you get there. Can we address the whole Binnington-Hofer thing real quick?
Sure, I thought it was funny.
I did too, and I'm seeing a ton of people being like, oh, Hofer didn't want to go in the game. I don't think that has anything to do with it. They talked about this on the broadcast last night. Chicago is one of the few arenas that goalies cannot sit on the bench. Like, there are some arenas...
Unless they choose to sit next to Panger.
Well, yeah, and I don't even think there's enough space for them in their pads. Like, some arenas, you can't sit on the bench. You have to sit, like, on the side of where the Zamboni goes in. Chicago is one of the few arenas that goalies legitimately have to sit in the locker room and watch the game. So what I assume happened was it was like 10 minutes left in the third period. Hofer's like, all right, well, I'm not going into this one. It's a blowout. You're not pulling me into this. I'm taking my gear off. Monty chose to pull him, and Hofer wasn't dressed. They ran back, told him to come out. Monty was livid because they were like, hey, we got to play this game if you ain't got your goalie. And so Hofer walked up and actually had his gear on finally, was like, can I go out yet? And I think he was just like, no, this game's over with. This was not Hofer refusing to go into the hockey game.
It wasn't a good look.
No, of course it wasn't a good look.
But if you just take it for what Alex said, the image was hilarious.
Oh, my God.
Some of the memes that are taking place on Twitter right now, they're genuinely hilarious.
Oh, my God, yes.
Somebody put the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme behind it. I mean, it's if you allow yourself to laugh in a season that, man, we've got to allow ourselves to laugh a little bit because otherwise we're going to drive ourselves crazy. It's pretty freaking hilarious.
This wasn't Binnington refusing to come out of the net. This wasn't Hofer refusing to go in the net. This was Hofer not being ready to go because you had to wait in the locker room to watch the game.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk it over with Joey Vitale, hear his perspective on that coming up in about 15 minutes or so. You guys can get involved to the show. The place to do so, 314-399-9646. We'll get to questions and answers later on today. But coming up next, two huge wins locally in the college basketball scene last night. SLU and Mizzou. Which one had the bigger win? Both of them were huge. I'm not trying to diminish either of them, but we'll tell you that next here on 101 ESPN. Alex, do you like gimme picks? Because I sure do. I opened up my Underdog app earlier today, and guess what I had? They had the deal reveal. I went with Saquon Barkley. All he has to do is get more than one rushing plus receiving yard this weekend, and I hit on my pick for Saquon Barkley. You can do the same thing over on the Underdog app. Download it today. Get in all of your picks for the NFL playoff action. You've also got college football action tonight. If you want to get in on the NFL playoffs best ball tournaments, hurry up. You got to get those in prior to this week, and don't worry, they'll be back again next week prior to the divisional round. They're the best things that you can do all over on the Underdog app today.
Yeah, you got to check this out. It's super simple to use. BK just told you why you need to look into it. You pick your favorite player, favorite stats. They go higher or lower, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the Underdog app today. Get ready for all of the football this weekend. Use promo code BKO to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Two 2-0 in the league for the first time in their SEC history. It's a 5-point Mizzou win, first at home against the reigning national champions, and now in Rupp Arena.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, that's what it sounded like last night on ESPN as Missouri takes down Kentucky on the road. Huge win for my Tigers. Alex, I got a few texts from SLU fans last night saying something to the effect of, hey, you guys going to talk about SLU now? They beat VCU. They went on the road. Huge victory for the Billikens. The answer is yes, we are absolutely going to do so. And we're going to do so by pitting them against Mizzou.
Of course.
I kid a little bit. But
Mizzou would lose in that game, by the way.
I agree. Yeah, SLU's a better basketball team than Missouri. I 100% agree with that. I do wonder who had the bigger win last night, because it was obviously huge for the SLU Billikens. Going on the road, beating VCU, a legitimately good team, and doing so pretty convincingly. I know the score ended up being relatively close, and late in the second half, they were down by, I think, like a point for 15 seconds. They had basically complete control over that game throughout. The Billikens were just better than VCU. To me, the bigger win last night, Alex, because I expected SLU to win that game, because I think they're just a really excellent basketball team, was for Missouri, because I thought their season was dead 2 weeks ago. When we came on the air after that Illinois game and said, man, the seat is starting to warm for Dennis Gates. He will not be fired after the season because he has an excellent recruiting class coming in, and he's earned a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with 2 of the first 3 seasons making it to the NCAA tournament. However, this team just doesn't have it, and that's 2 of your first 4 seasons. You had a whole lot of nothing as answers. Well, that has now changed. They've won each of their first 2 games in the SEC. I'm surprised this is the case. It kind of shocked me when they said it on the broadcast, but apparently it is true. It's the first time that they have started the SEC slate 2-0 since joining the SEC more than a decade ago.
Really?
Yeah, I had the same reaction.
That doesn't seem right.
Kentucky's not great, but it's a solid program, and they might make the tournament this year, if nothing else. It's a big win for Mizzou to get their season back onto the rails, coming off of a win at home against Florida, who's a top 20-ish program in the country this season. So, to me, the bigger win last night was Missouri because of what it does for their trajectory. SLU just reinforced what I already believed about the program. Did you have a different takeaway from the 2 wins?
I don't know if it was a different takeaway. I just thought SLU's win was bigger, just because we've done this in the past to where, and I feel like every year we'll start off where everyone's saying, talk more SLU. They're legit this year. And then every time it starts to feel like, hey, SLU might be a really dangerous team, they get into A10 play and then they lay a dud. Typically against a team like VCU or Richmond, and it's like, what just happened? So we're not believing in this team. And then you go to VCU where you've never won before, and you not only reaffirm what you mentioned, but you go out there and you kind of look like the significantly better team from start to finish. And that's why it just felt bigger to me, because although I agree, like I did not expect that win at all for Mizzou, because to go to Rupp Arena and win, that's not an easy thing to do. I think it was, 19 straight chances they've had to do that, and they lost every one. But I kind of just feel like Mizzou is still confusing to me, which is why like SLU's was bigger, because it reaffirmed, yeah, they might be the best team. They probably are the best team in the A-10, and I've never believed that in the past because they don't win games like that.
I got this, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, T-Bone, from the 618. SLU's win was bigger. Totally disagree with you. They had no more quad one wins left on their schedule. If you believe that SLU can get in as a at-large team, it was a huge win last night, and that's a totally fair argument. I'm just not sure how the committee is going to go with that. I do think, like, the SEC is not as good this year. It's not a very good conference, frankly. So there may be fewer spots that are taken up by some of these Power 5 conferences, which may open up an at-large bid for a team like SLU from a smaller conference. And if that ends up being the case, last night's game was massive for them, and honestly necessary for them to be able to earn one of those at-large berths. That we don't know that yet until we get to the end of the season, but that's a fair argument against what I just mentioned there. But it to me was just a reminder that they should be the favorite to win the A-10 this season. Mm-hmm. And that matters to a degree, but if it becomes a one-bid league, as it generally speaking has been lately, all that matters for SLU is how they're playing around the time of the conference tournament. And that's what kind of sucks about this time of the year in college basketball in a conference like the A-10. So much of it feels almost meaningless.
Yeah.
Because it all comes down to, well, are you playing at your best in early March or in late February? And that stinks, because I do think it should be more rewarding for a program like SLU to have that win last night.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I would say it was a bigger win for Missouri. And that's not to take anything away from SLU, but I just see the A-10 is probably going to be a one-bid league. Like you just mentioned, because I agree, the SEC is down, and we'll see if that pulls more, or at least creates more opportunities for some of these mid-majors. Problem is then I look at the Mountain West and go, okay, the Mountain West is pretty good, so they'll take up a couple. WCC is very good, that conference with Gonzaga, so that'll take up a couple extra spots as well. So the A-10 probably becomes a one-bid league, and especially, and look, I get it. It is their one quad one win, so maybe if they have just 2 losses, they run the table, they lose to VCU maybe in the championship game, maybe then there's an argument to be had there. I just think the game didn't really matter as much, and I agree, because it feels like their regular season is just kind of meaningless right now. But meanwhile, for Missouri, like, they needed to show some signs of life, for even just for people to get bought into their year.
Absolutely.
And after that Illinois loss, I was kind of with you guys. I thought for sure, okay, this is going to be another loss year. Dennis Gates' seat is going to start to heat up, even though he's got one of the top recruiting classes. They look like a team that could go just above 500 in the SEC now and be able to get to the tournament. So I think that was a much bigger win. And look, I get Kentucky not as good as what they've been in the past. I think that team stinks after watching them last night. But they needed that win, and they needed to start 2-0, and they can't afford to have bad losses in conference play in the SEC, Can Missouri, since it's not as deep this year.
This is also a statement against Missouri and what they have been, as much as it is a statement against, like, what last night was for SLU. If Missouri had been off to a good slate and they beat Illinois, for example, last night's game wouldn't have really mattered for them. But it was so hugely important because of how terrible their non-conference went. Yeah. And if they didn't get off to a good start in the SEC, people would have completely checked out, and their season would have basically been done as soon as it started. One last thing on this. Man, Josh Schertz is a hell of a coach. I mean, what you're seeing right now for him at SLU is basically what he built at Indiana State. He's just doing it again. Mm-hmm. And he's done it with a couple of guys that were part of the thing yet last year, but also bringing in the right transfers. He's clearly very good at constructing a roster on the fly and figuring out what exactly it is that he needs. Man, I hope SLU is able to retain his services, because he could build something pretty special at SLU. Like, this is the kind of coach that you need to become the Butler of the Midwest again. And I don't know what Schertz wants. I don't know what his aspirations are. But if he wants to go to a big-time program, if this continues at SLU this season, he might have that chance after this season.
Yeah.
Because he's done one hell of a coaching job, and he's one of the best offensive minds in all of college basketball right now. That guy has put together, once again, one of the top offensive rosters in the country. Right now, they're fifth in effective field goal percentage in the country. Last year, for a team that was just okay, they were 15th. 2 years ago with Indiana State, number 1 in the country. The year before that, they were number 4. One hell of an offensive mind. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Joey Vitale joins us next.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues fell to the Blackhawks last night 7-3. They will be back in action tomorrow night when they visit the Utah Mammoth. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 7 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 8 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and, of course, FanDuel Sports Midwest. He is Joey Vitale, joining us as he does each and every Thursday. Joe, appreciate the time. How you doing this morning?
Joey. Sorry about last night.
Hey, boys. What's going on?
We're doing all right, man. Blues lose 7-3 last night. Can we start with the funny and then we work our way to the rest of it?
Yeah. Hey, guys, this is your show. I'm just a guest. You can go any direction you want.
You're not a guest. You're the third head of this monster.
What was your perspective
of having your own show? Go ahead.
What was your perspective, Joe, on the Hofer situation where he was hiding?
Tell me you talked to him last night.
Yeah. You know what? Listen, he wasn't hiding. There's a lot of it is truly amazing how you get one clip on TNT, and you know what? They did a great job covering it. You got to give a shout out to them for the camera work from their men because they were all over it. Talked to Darren Pang a little bit last night. They got a heck of a crew, and they kind of they did their job, right? They recognized the situation, and they got in. They got personal. It was not clearly wasn't funny. It was not a great look. I don't think anyone won. That was just a losing thing from the get-go, because, Jim Montgomery goes to pull Binnington. He can't because there's no goalie ready. And I'll get into that in a second. So you have to pursue. So Binnington knows he's getting pulled, and then he can't even leave the game, which is not a great feeling. Jim Montgomery tries to pull him. He can't pull him because the backup goaltender's not ready. That's not a great feeling. And it's a horrible feeling for Joel Hofer, who at the time was not ready to go. All that being said, did Binnington refuse to come out of the net? Absolutely not. He cannot leave the net until the goalie is coming to him. You see this when goalies get pulled. The goaltender stays in that crease until you see the other goaltender on the bench starting to get ready, or especially when they hit the ice. So if Joel Hofer would have hit the ice and started skating towards him, that's usually when the goaltenders leave. So this is nothing to do with Binnington, in my opinion. Now I'm going to do a little bit more, ask some more questions later this morning. We haven't had a chance to catch up with the team just yet as we're traveling to Utah today in about an hour. But for my take, Binnington did nothing wrong. He stayed in the net because there was no goalie coming. And unfortunately, the play had to continue because the Blues would have taken a delay of game if it would have waited any longer. So a tough situation, the camera. And then the camera, of course, that you saw later of Hofer peeking around the corner. We talked to Brian Burke, who did the play-by-play last night, and I asked him right after the game, I go, what's going on? Was Hofer there the whole time? And he said, no. At the time where Monty wanted to pull him, it was clear that Joel Hofer was not ready to go. And so the next TV timeout, that's where the camera had Joel Hofer around the corner. So Joe, at that point, was ready, but I think that too much time had passed where they decided. So you can see how camera work and storytelling, it can really kind of confuse the viewer. So it is appropriate to at least set the story straight about what happened. And then on Joel Hofer's side, everyone's thinking, okay, why wasn't Hofer ready? Chicago, I think, is the only building with this type of setup. And this isn't making any excuses for Joel because as a backup, you got to be ready, and he'd be the first to tell you that. But 90% of the arenas, you're sitting on the bench, you're ready to go at all times. There's a few sprinkled in there where you're not on the bench, but you are by the gate across the rink. I think of the Carolina Hurricanes, you're by the entrance and exit door across the rink. Winnipeg Jets, you're the same thing. You're across the ice, but you're sitting on a stool watching. Montreal Canadiens, you're right by the entrance to the ice. You're not on the bench either, but at least you're watching the game. this is an arena where, the United Center is set up where the benches are so tight where you can't fit on the bench. There's really no other entrance to sit by. So you watch basically from the locker room, and for Joel Hofer too. Again, not making the excuses, but it's 7 minutes to go in the game. You're thinking, geez, if I was going to go in, I'd probably go in a lot sooner. And so it was a weird time probably for him to think he was going to go in. But at the same time, he's got to be ready at all times, and he knows that. So a really weird situation. Again, really, I would say it's not funny. It's more of a tough look for everyone involved, and certainly hopefully a learning moment for the team.
Joe, I know you're tight on time, so I'll just go straight to it. I looked at this one last night as one of the worst losses of the season, considering what Chicago had and the Blues having 3 days off. Did you see it that way as well?
I did, Alex. I did. Yeah, because, you have a back-to-back set at home. You played terrific. You were the best you've been at the offensive net in the Vegas game. You're best at the defensive net in the Montreal game. Robert Thomas, I think, is coming off his best 2 games. The goaltending was there. The structure was there. The team identity was there. And you just felt, okay, like, let's start the build. I mean, we've seen this a couple times this year where you're like, let's go now. Let's go. And, to me, that was a winnable game last night. And it's no disrespect to the Chicago Blackhawks, but they were a team that was right around you in the standings, a team that you've had their number for the last X amount of years. They were without Bedard, their best player, without Nazar, an incredible player. So missing they're 2 of the top offensive guys. And you think, okay, this is one you want to build. Let's put together our first 3-game set. Let's start this road trip, the 3-game road trip off on the right note, and let's keep scratching and clawing. That was a big halter and stop last night, not only in the loss, but in the performance and the way they lost, by how much they lost by, and by how the fact that, Alex, you're looking at some of the warts that continue to pop up, whether it be the special teams and the power play not getting it done. And then, of course, you look even deeper into the second period woes that just continue to crush this team. I mean, again, 1-1 game coming into the second after a great start to the game. And you get outscored once again in that second period. Some goals I think Bennington would like to have back, especially that Murphy one. That was certainly a backbreaker there. But ultimately, you put yourself in too big of a hole where you can't claw back. So, yeah, it was a very disappointing one. And, just hearing from Jim Montgomery last night, you just got to figure out a way to dig in. And you can still make this a good road trip, but you got to get to work starting against the Utah Mammoth tomorrow night.
Blues off tonight, back in action tomorrow. You will hear Joey Vitale on the call for that one right here on 101 ESPN. Back-to-back Friday and Saturday night. Joe, appreciate the time as always, man. Know you got a plane to catch. We'll talk with you again next week.
Hey, sounds good, boys. You guys have a great week as well.
Same to you. That's Joey Vitale joining us as he does each and every Thursday here on BK and Ferrario. Sincerely appreciate him hopping on with us. We were tight on time. Would have expanded on my question a little bit more. The situation itself is not funny, that they didn't have their backup goalie ready in time. Mm-hmm. The image of him peeking around the corner is very funny to me. And if other people don't see it that way, that's totally cool. In a season that is, for me, basically lost, I thought the image was pretty funny.
Yeah, and I think what Joey's saying is
Joe's a pro.
Yeah.
He's an athlete, and he's coming at it from the perspective, and I respect this. It is not a good look.
No.
It looks bad for everybody that a player was unprepared to go into the game when his coach needed him. That's bad, man. That's a really bad look. From my perspective, where I'm sitting on my couch eating some potato chips last night, and I'm watching a game that has completely gotten away from the Blues, and then they show an image of their backup goalie, what appears to be, not doing this actually, but what appeared to be hiding from the camera and checking around the corner to see, they still watching me? You guys need me?
Well,
that to me was really funny.
And even on the broadcast, I mean, Curbs and Joey were laughing because of just the image of Joel Hofer poking his head around. So I understand what Joe's saying. The scenario, the situation for how bad this season is, looks like the Blues just don't have their ish together. It doesn't look good on Hofer, doesn't look good on Jim Montgomery, doesn't look good on the organization.
Honestly, the worst for Monty.
Yeah, for sure. But I do agree, sometimes you have to look beyond the disaster and try and find some of the light stuff. The fact that you have that image moving forward, to me, is very... 3 years from now, if the Blues are winning, we're not going to remember this disaster of a game, but you're going to remember the Joel Hofer peeking around the corner, meme that just continues to go around. But I understand what Joey's saying. Like, it looks awful for both Joel Hofer that you're not ready to go out there and Jim Montgomery that you don't have your team put together like that.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I also, like, if we want to get real on this, it is kind of a bad look, in my opinion, for Jim Montgomery. Because if you were thinking about polling Jordan Montgomery.
You're pulling Jordan Montgomery.
If
Wow,
you were considering a poll for Jordan Binnington, don't you have to tell Joel Hofer, hey, man, if he leaves in another softie here, we're going to put you in?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you have him prepared? It's kind of like if you're a manager and you're planning to pull your starter and you don't have a guy ready in the pin for a big spot coming up. Like, that's on you as the manager for not having that guy up. We would criticize Ollie Marmol in the exact same kind of situation for not having a reliever ready. If you know, because you know this going in, Chicago, it's not as if they found out last night, hey, the arena in Chicago is kind of unique and the goalie can't sit on the bench. Like, because of the setup, if we need to pull Benner tonight, we're going to need to have Hofer ready to go. It isn't a great look.
It's also on Hofer, too. Like,
sure,
you don't take your pads off with, even if there's 7 minutes left, you don't know if an injury could happen, and if it does, you're going to scramble. Like,
agreed, but it's on the coach to make sure that he's ready to go.
Yeah. Sure, but isn't it on the player too? Like, if when I have a teenage kid, it's on you to make sure that you make the right decisions just as much as it's on me to teach you the right decision.
But sometimes as a parent, there's nothing you can do. The kid's going to do what they're going to do, and they're influenced by their friends as much as they are on you. This is a different conversation for a different day, but like in that moment, the coach has to put his players in a position to succeed. That is the number one job as a coach. I mean, and last night, Monty, in that moment, didn't do that. If he wanted to pull him, I don't think he should have even pulled him.
For sure.
I disagreed with the decision to begin with.
This also is not, Joel Hofer's not a 16-year-old kid that's never played in the NHL. Joel Hofer's been in the NHL long enough to realize that I could go in at any minute. And if I'm sitting in the back, regardless if I'm sitting on the side of the arena or in the back of the arena, I got to have my pads on ready to go at all times.
And it's not like you mentioned baseball. In baseball, you see the reliever get up and get loose. Typically, you don't see a goalie end up like going and like getting loose behind the
he gets
bench.
Loose. Yeah, he gets loose standing
He comes
there.
off the bench and immediately gets into the game and stretches. So, yes, it's a bad look for Monty. I think it's worse on Hofer because he did take the pads off and clearly wasn't ready to go, because it's not like he needs a warm-up period, right? We see goalies come all the time just directly off the bench to come into the game. He thought they weren't going to go to him. Now, Monty probably should have said something in between periods, which I'm assuming he probably did. And then you don't end up with Hofer being ready in that scenario.
Yeah, shouldn't the coach know? Like, if you're considering a pull of your goalie, shouldn't you know if your goalie is ready to go?
I think you should assume he's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, like,
he shouldn't take his pads off till
you're
it's
not
zero.
talking let's say Hofer's on the bench. You're not talking to him in the middle of the game saying, "Hey, get ready to go out there." It's typically bad thing happens, turns, Hofer, get ready.
Yeah, and he's got his
There's
pads
no
on.
warning to him of go get ready. You're going in on the next goal. It's turns, go in.
I mean, there were 7 minutes between the previous goal and that goal going.
I mean, maybe if you're Jim Montgomery, you're thinking it's not going to continue to get bad, and it got bad again, and it's
they
like, all
allowed
right, screw
6.
this.
I have a pretty strong inkling it's probably going to continue to get bad.
I guess, but I'm also not going to put blame on
in that 7 minutes, though. What I'm saying is, if you were considering polling Benner at the next goal, because it wasn't a bad one, like that one, whatever. It was a continuation of what the entire game had been. So clearly he had already had thoughts of, we're going to pull Benner here if there's another one going in. Well, then make sure, like, have somebody, the equipment manager who ultimately went down.
He was the one that ran back there.
Have him go down and tell Hofer, hey, we let one more in, you're going in.
I just don't think that's not how they do it in the NHL. Like, more times than not, it's you turn your head and you say you're going in.
But more times than not, you're not in the situation that they were in last night in Chicago.
No matter where you're at as a goalie, you got to be ready to go. Like,
and I mean, it's happened in Chicago, too.
It should have immediately been Monty turns, says, go get Hofer, and then Hofer
Hofer's
comes
there.
walking out with the equipment manager.
Yeah.
Not the equipment manager coming back and going, yeah, about Joel. Doesn't have pants on right now.
And if I'm Jim Montgomery, like,
by the way, how do you feel?
That's hilarious.
How do you
That's
feel?
funny.
For the funny side of this, how do you think the equipment manager was going, how do I break the news to the coaching staff that Joel is not ready to go?
exactly how you saw it. He ran
What
up
do you
there.
think it was? Like, was it his pads? Was it his pants?
My guess is his leg pads were off.
I think he came back and went, he's in the shower.
Because the leg pads are off. I mean, those are the ones that, because if it's the upper body.
Jamie, can you hear us, Jamie? Jamie Rivers. You got 2 seconds?
Run, Jamie, run!
We can get an expert in on this.
We need hockey help, Jamie.
First of all,
Jamie was going to the
funny
bathroom,
or not
by the
funny
way.
that Joel Hofer.
I'll hold it.
funny or not funny that Joel Hofer wasn't ready last night?
Oh, man, I thought it was funny. Let me tell you a great goalie story really quick. Do we have time?
Oh, please.
Yeah, we got time.
We interrupted your bathroom break.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'll hold it out. It's fine. For you guys?
That's healthy.
Like this thing doesn't fall apart. So that is a funny moment last night. I'm going to take you back to Philadelphia. I think the year's 1997.
7-year-old Ferrario.
Grant Fuhr is our starting goalie. Jamie McLennan is our backup goalie. Grant Fuhr played almost every game, but when he had a chance to sit out, he'd sit out. Well, Fuhr was famous for sitting on the end of the bench and like having a hot dog and like eating a chocolate bar, things like that.
Times haven't changed.
Times have changed. So Jamie McLennan's playing a great game in Philly. He shut out in the first period. I think he won goal in the second, but he's playing really well. Halfway through the second period, he starts to cramp up. Like, for whatever reason, his muscles, he's like stiff as a board. Like, Ray Borrellius would run it and push him.
My gosh.
Like, he can barely take skating strides. So Furzy, gotta go, And Keenan's like, get your stuff on, He's like, okay, yeah. So Furzy jumps up, he's
Puts his hot dog down.
He's trying to tuck away some of the chips and stuff, like, over to the side. And he gets out there, and by the way, he's got brand new pads on. He wore them for the very first time in morning skate. Wore them for that night because they were cool looking, but this was Furzy, old school as can be. He gets in there. Philadelphia comes down the ice 35, 40 seconds into Furzy's tenure into the net that day and take a shot, and Furzy goes down for like one of those glove saves, like his signature save. You hear, He keels over. He's on the ice laying there. We're like, oh, my God, he just blew out his knee. Or like something just happened. Ray's still in with Jamie McLennan, our massage therapist. His name is Jeff Cope. We called him Weird Al because that's what he looked like. He has to go on the ice because nobody, the coach is like, look at it. Well, somebody go help this guy. He gets out there. He's talking to Furzy. Furzy's like stretching his leg and whatnot. And then he gets up and he's fine, finishes the period. And we go into the locker room at the second intermission, and Furzy's icing his knee. So I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, you going to be all right? Like, because, he's our number one goalie. And he goes, yeah, I'm fine. He pulls the ice bag off. And there is a perfect circle that is swollen, red, purple, blue, all these things, right on his kneecap. He had forgotten that he put a jawbreaker in his pad. He forgot he put a jawbreaker in his goalie pad. And when he went down on his knee, he crushed the jawbreaker with his kneecap, hence hurting him at the same time.
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about funny goalie things. These are things
Weren't you on the team where, I thought it was Manny Legacy, where he was needed and he was in the bathroom?
I was not on the team that year.
Maybe I'll have to look at this. I could have sworn they called for the backup. It was Legacy, and he was in the back. He was going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't have him right now, so he's putting his pads back on.
There are a few rinks in the league. Like, so Chicago, I'm sure Joey described, like, he'd go down and
he did not find it as funny as I did.
Oh, well, I don't know why. I thought Joey'd love that. But
at the time, it was hilarious.
At the time, even now, who cares? Like, it is what it is.
It's whatever.
But you got to go into the locker room. In Winnipeg, you sit across the ice from the team in a separate chair, and sometimes the goalies go back into the weight room. They watch the game with like the trainers or whoever's on that side of the ice. In San Jose is the other side of the ice as well. So if you have to go to the bathroom, you got to go down the tunnel. And if you need it at that point, like the guy's not there. So there's a couple of wonky setups.
That's amazing.
The final thing on this, and I'm sure you guys will break it down whenever you get on the fast lane. I know.
Poor guy.
That's fine.
What do you think happened last night?
For the goalie situation.
Hofer.
Oh, okay.
Jamie's like, well, you don't have enough time for me on that.
We are up against it.
Man, we're on TNA time.
Yeah,
We'll
tune in
make it
from
up.
2 to 6, by the way, for my thoughts on the other. Monty went to pull Binnington, and I think Hofer was down watching the game inside the trainer's room, which is tucked in the back of the room. Probably didn't have all his stuff together. By the time he gathered his stuff, like, you don't have a lot of time to wait.
Sure.
The referees call a delay a game. You have to call an actual timeout and, whatever. So Monty's looking like there's no goalie. Okay, well, stay in the net then. And then Hofer probably got all his stuff and was wondering, like, because if he just comes
Time for me to
marching
come
out, now it looks like he's pulling Binnington.
Sure.
So he's kind of just peeking, like, do you need me or not? Like, are we doing this or not? And
Is that on Hofer? Is it on Monty? Is it on everybody that he wasn't prepared to go into the game when clearly they were planning
that's
to
got to be
pull
on
him?
Hofer. That's got to be on Hofer. I mean,
Doesn't Monty have to say something, though? Like, hey,
No.
Okay.
Doesn't say anything. He's like, hey, get the goalie for me. The other guy should be ready.
The
Like,
poor equipment manager came running back out. Monty ain't got his pants on.
I take the L.
yeah, no, I think it's on Joel Hofer. I think if you asked Hofer, he'd say, yeah, I got to be ready to go there.
Why wasn't he?
I can only imagine, dude. I have no idea.
I just love it
maybe
when
he was going to the bathroom. Like, who knows?
I just love that Monty turned to look and he wasn't there, and then he starts barking at Steve Ott, and he's like, "Where is he?" And Ott's like, "I don't know."
I couldn't believe. Like, I thought Otter would like just jump down, run, and go look.
Well, the equipment manager kept running back and forth, and he was like, "I don't know, Jim. I can't find him."
Oh my god!
And then you get the Curb to Your Enthusiasm theme song. He's like, "Dude,
Oh yeah." So we're planning on having Jim Montgomery on today.
Okay, cool.
Once they land in Utah.
Fantastic.
I am going to ask him about it.
Got to, man. It's the biggest story
Nobody
from last
asked him
night.
about it
Man,
last night.
They've lost almost every game this year. Whatever.
Yeah. So we'll see what he has to say about it.
All right, Jamie. Appreciate you,
All
man.
right, boys. I'm glad I could be of service.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
you.
All right, that's Jamie Rivers. You'll hear him coming up today at 2 o'clock on the Fast Lane, probably 2:06 as we're completely off clock at this point. T-Bone, do me a favor.
Oh, he's going to double.
Let's go ahead and double up. We'll get into questions and answers on the other side. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show.
JR just texted. He's got a piece coming out very soon where he talks to Monty about the whole shenanigans last night.
there you
Can we
go.
call it shenanigans? We're going to call it shenanigans.
The funny situation that happened. I'm sorry. It was funny. So that's what we've got. Jamie, again, 2 to 6. He'll have Monty coming up later on today on the show. JR, we'll have a piece on this over at The Athletic.
Monty's got BK's back. Monty, this is what he said. Ultimately, that all falls on me that the goalie wasn't ready to go in because I'm the head coach and I'm the one in charge of this team, so I've got to make sure the line of communication is better.
Listen, first of all,
that's good PR. It's Hofer.
It's good coaching by Jim Montgomery to take accountability for that. Then you go into your locker room and say, Hofer, what the bleep?
Yeah, now I got to deal with this.
How the bleep are you not prepared to go into a hockey game? Everybody handled this the correct way.
That's why Hofer was peeking around the corner. He knew he was in deep-ish.
All right, questions and answers coming up next.
Tanner Hendrickson here, and the NFL playoffs get started this weekend, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and they make every moment feel bigger. I'm going to go to Saturday's game. I'm looking at Bears-Packers. I can't believe the Bears are not favored in this game at home, so I'm going Bears on the money line at plus 100, and then I like player props as well. Caleb Williams to throw 2+ passing touchdowns, and I think DeAndre Swift's getting in the end zone as well for an anytime touchdown score. And get this, DraftKings will have your back this postseason with early exit protection. So if you have a player in your eligible NFL prop bet that goes down at any point in the first half, you will still get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire half. So why bet your player props anywhere else? And if you like live betting options as well, DraftKings has live betting options that keep you in the moment throughout the NFL postseason. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER, that's code TANNER, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Three 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in on the Air Comfort Service text line right now. I thought you had something.
No, sorry, I was sniffling.
From the 618, for once in your show, man up and expose this for what it is and was. It's not funny at all. You think this would be funny if Chicago, Philly, Montreal, Vegas did it?
Oh, my God,
Bleep,
yes.
no. Oh, now Jamie's catering to this as it's funny. Ha ha, what a moment. Holy crap.
I mean, I don't care what team does it. That's hilarious.
I would think it's less funny if this team was in playoff contention. Because then it would be a moment where it's like, hold on, how is this happening?
Yeah, but even if you're in playoff contention,
Can I be
the
honest?
game was out of hand regardless.
I think it'd be funnier if you were in playoff contention.
It's not
because
like
that means when you're a playoff team, what does that? Well, maybe not if you're a wild card in the
Vibes
West.
are better.
Yeah, the vibes are better.
That's
Like
fair.
I'm sure the guys are making fun of it, and we're thinking to ourselves, boy, they're such an organized team. How do they not have their backup goalie ready?
if that was a
Last night I was like, yeah, of course this happens
Yeah.
to the Blues. On the other side, it would have been like, wait, what?
if that was a 2-1 hockey game and the Blues were leading
And your
and
goalie
they
gets
couldn't,
injured,
yeah,
then
and
I
you
would
don't have
get
a
it.
backup and now you get to delay a game and you lose the game, then yeah, I'd be complaining about it. The game was done. It was 7-2, 7-3. Like, don't care, man. Like, move on to the next game. That was hilarious.
Harrison's brother Master texting in saying, why don't you guys ever criticize Jordan Kyrou? He's now on pace for 32 points. I think we did exactly that yesterday.
What am I going to criticize Kyrou for, man? Like, he played like 13 minutes last night. You criticize the other guys. Again, your number one center had 2 shot attempts in the final 5 minutes of the game. Your goalie didn't make the saves. Defensively, you watched guys create the creases 7-11. Why am I going to complain about Kyrou, who had 2 scoring chances?
No, hard for me to disagree. From the 636, BK, as a Chiefs fan, would you prefer them to hire Kingsbury or McDaniel as their next offensive coordinator? And do you think they would actually pursue those guys as options to bring in this year? I'm pretty confident they will at least pursue Cliff Kingsbury. He has a history with Patrick Mahomes. They have a very good relationship. Everything that I have heard is that Mahomes will probably go to bat for Kingsbury to be the next OC for the Chiefs. Now, he may also have opportunities elsewhere that would be more intriguing to him. I think this is a really good time to become the offense coordinator for the Chiefs, which has not always been the case in the past, because the offense stunk this year for the first time. So you will be viewed as the guy that got it back on track. And you'll have Patrick Mahomes, hopefully coming back healthy, to help you do that. So I think it's actually a pretty good time to do it. I would prefer Mike McDaniel. I think that guy's a wizard of an offensive mind. Maybe he's underqualified to be a head coach, but as an OC, he'd be fantastic. So I think he'd be a really, really good hire for whoever ultimately gets him. I think he's probably going to get another head coaching opportunity, though. I'd like to see him with the Baltimore Ravens. Putting Lamar Jackson into his offense, yeah, I think that could work. So if you're curious who my top candidate is, he would be it. I just don't know how realistic it's going to be. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 636, do you guys think that the Blues will trade more players at the deadline or in the offseason?
I think it'll be offseason. Actually, no, I think it'll be deadline. I think you see a lot of the depth pieces get traded at the deadline. I think you'll probably only see 1 move, maybe 2 moves, and they'll be pretty significant moves if you can pull it off. I think you might see 3 or 4 guys get shipped out this trade deadline.
Yeah.
I go deadline.
I would too. I think there will be more quantity of moves, not quality of moves at the deadline. And what I mean is, like you said, some depth pieces, like they may trade Joseph, Sundquist on top of Falk and Shen at the deadline. And they may only make like 1, maybe 2, but it would be like the core pieces, like Thomas, Kyrou, Booch, one of those guys that we're talking about.
Great way to frame it. Totally agree with that. From Bacon Wrapped Wiener, are you guys doing Beat the Blues or Believe It or Not today? We will, both in the 1 o'clock hour. Beat the Blues coming up at 1:30. Believe It or Not today at 1:15. It's Justin Falk, T-Bone?
That's right, Justin Falk.
So winner will go home with a signed hockey puck by Justin Falk, who's having maybe a career year for him, and tickets to see the St. Louis Blues play as well. From the 636, what does it mean for the Cardinals' budget if Major League Baseball were to take over for their broadcasting? Don't think it'll have too much of an impact this year because of the situation they're in, where they're trading out all of their significant money. If they were trying to compete the way that they had in previous years, though, boy, this would be a disaster. It could have had a huge impact on how they would budget for things, but I think they'll be fine given where they're at. They've already eliminated basically half of their payroll.
Yeah, I think this year doesn't really impact them, but like when we talk about like what they look like at their next winning window, you know, I'm skeptical of how much they'll really be able to pull in. They're not going to get what they've gotten on these previous RSN deals by just selling their own stuff. So it does make me think like whatever the highest payroll was a couple of years ago that they had, I don't know that they're getting back to those marks when they were previously in their winning window. It might be more of a, I don't know, $20 to $30 million short of that based on whatever they may end up bringing in from their own producing of their own games.
From the 314, guys, Andre Palante is apparently going to make $4 million next year. Where did I go wrong in life? It's a reminder. This offseason has been a reminder of the value of starting pitching in Major League Baseball. It's hard to find, and it's expensive to acquire.
Wow.
Look at what the Cubs just did yesterday. They gave up their top prospects for a guy that has never thrown more than 150 innings in his Major League career. Good pitcher, probably a number 2 or 3 on a good team, a contending team, and they gave up their top prospect and more to be able to acquire him.
And you know what's fascinating about it? Those guys don't matter when we get to October.
Who?
Like the guys that we're taught, like Cabrera, starting pitchers, they're becoming less and less important in October.
Yeah.
It's more the bullpen, and that's where I find it interesting that the cost of starting pitching is definitely going up, and Cabrera is a great example of this. Even the move we saw Baltimore make earlier in the offseason. Why am I forgetting the starter that they acquired? But but they made a big move where they gave up basically a first-round pick in exchange
The
for
Orioles?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the starter, but
They did it last year with Rodgers.
they acquired somebody earlier this offseason.
Shane Baz.
Baz, thank you. And yet, like, when we get to October, you know who matters most? Your bullpen. Your starting pitch, unless you're the Dodgers, but most
Some of
teams
those
it's
starting
more about your
pitchers are in your
bullpen.
bullpen.
I do think it matters maybe more than we're giving it credit for. Like the Blue Jays got there in part because of what their starting pitching was able to do, namely what Trey Savage was able to do for them. I think if you don't have those top two guys, I mean, how many times have we talked about it with the Cardinals, where they're missing the top two guys to be able to lead their rotation? The depth pieces, I do think, are a little overrated because they're going 4 innings. Yeah. But your top two guys need to get you the innings so that way then your bullpen can take care of those day 3 and 4 type of games.
Yeah.
If you get the right pitcher, I think he's important. It's just, is Cabrera the right pitcher? And for a guy that can't pitch 150
he's got to be that
innings,
number 2, but do they have the number 1? Can Steele be that guy?
Look, I mean, it's a massive risk, but I like it when teams make risks. If Cabrera turns out to be a stud and you have a 1-2 punch, then they potentially might be better than what the Brewers were last year. But if it fails and Cassie turns out to be a stud, then you screwed it up. But I like it when you take chances.
Coming up, or actually first, a little bit of news passed along. Then I'll tell you what's coming up next. DeMond Williams Jr., his agent, has decided to drop him due to, quote, philosophical differences. I love that is the phrasing that
philosophical
they used.
Differences, man. Can we just move on from that
Quote,
phrase?
DeMond is an incredible talent, and we wish him and his family the best in their future endeavors. Wasserman Football has officially parted ways with DeMond Williams Jr. For those unfamiliar, that is the former Washington quarterback who decided after signing a new, I think it was $4 million contract with the Washington Huskies, that he would enter the transfer portal 4 days later with a do not contact tag. Everybody believes that he's headed to LSU. He did so against the wishes of his agency, in part because I'm guessing his agency's like, yo, we have to do other contracts with Washington. Yeah. Big Ten teams sign our players, and they have to know that we'll be willing participants in those contracts, and we will treat them as such.
You mean the agents
Wasserman had to do this. They had no other option.
Hey, you mean the agent's upset that the player didn't treat the contract like a binding contract?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. We got problems, NCAA.
But then the player can say, okay, I'll just go get one of the other 100 agents that are out there.
Yeah, also I'm making $7+ million. I think any agency will take me on. I respect the agent.
Yeah, I mean, the agent did what he had to do here. Just like with Monty, the statement that he made the statement he had to make.
Yeah.
The agent is doing exactly what he needs to do, and the player did what he... If I was in his shoes, I probably also would have accepted the $7 million that was being offered my way.
It's hard not to.
All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into some NFL quick hitters. But next, Robert Thomas's name, for the first time, I believe, Alex, has officially been listed on a trade board. Is it legit? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. News from Robert Murray. Lars Nootbaar and the Cardinals have agreed to $5.35 million in order to avoid arbitration this season. So there's your number for Lars Nootbaar in 2026, $5.35 million. We'll see if they're able to agree to terms with Brendan Donovan as well. Already today, $4 million is the announced total for Andre Palante. Today is the deadline for the teams and the players to come to terms to avoid arbitration. Otherwise, they have to go to the hearing the way that we saw with a couple of players for the Cardinals a year ago. Alex, JR's piece just landed over on The Athletic. We'll get to the Robert Thomas situation here in just a moment. He was able to talk to Jim Montgomery about the whole situation from last night. I know some people are frustrated and annoyed by this. Listen, it's the biggest story to come out of last night's game. They lost. They've done a lot of losing this year. Not a whole lot to break down with that. A few of these quotes are interesting to me, Alex. I want to get your thoughts on it. From Jim Montgomery, we had already read this quote from JR. We signaled back to make the goalie switch. The lines of communication on the headset were not clear initially. Joel Hofer wasn't ready. It kind of symbolizes last night's player. Special teams weren't ready. Joel Hofer wasn't ready. Benner had no issue. He knew what we were doing. There was zero malcontent by Jordan Bennington. Ultimately, that all falls on me. The goalie wasn't ready to go in. I'm the head coach. I'm the one in charge of this team. I've got to make sure that the lines of communication are better. He said that he motioned to Benner. He nodded yes back. He said Bennington didn't skate off because he didn't see Hofer. Quote, that's common. You don't leave your crease until the other guy is coming toward you. When asked about Hofer and the situation with him, said someone had to go tell Hofer. Hofer was only half dressed. So that's why there was the delay. It's not commonplace that guys are going to sit there in the dressing room with all of their equipment on. Everybody between periods, when they go back to the locker room, people don't keep their jerseys on because you want to cool down. If you're a goalie, you have even more equipment. It's not cool in there like it is in the rink. So that's the explanation there. Monty said, I've got to make sure that we have a meeting with our lines of communication. Then Joel Hofer, I have to have a discussion with him about being ready.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm glad this came out. Phenomenal reporting by JR because, and I'm not saying everyone was saying it, but a lot of people were saying, oh, Bennington refused to leave the net. That is not the case. Bennington knew he wanted to get pulled. The game was out of hand. Hofer wasn't ready. I also hear those comments, and I think this is Jim Montgomery softening the blow for a young goaltender that made a mistake. He wasn't ready. He wasn't dressed. I mean, Lundqvist talked on the post game for TNT. JR had the quote in there that, you know, most times for a goalie, it takes about a minute or so to put your jersey on, your top half on. There was more than a minute in that scenario because if it was just a matter of, hey, he doesn't have his top half on, we'll call a timeout, we'll get him ready, and we'll pull him in there. And they didn't do that. Part of me, and this is just my tinfoil, that's phenomenal reporting by JR. I just wonder if Jim Montgomery is softening the blow that Joel Hofer did not have his gear on, wasn't ready to go, and he doesn't want this to look bad on Joel Hofer. It's a learning experience from everyone. Jim Montgomery is the leader of the team. He's accepting the biggest blow.
All right, let's move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about Robert Thomas instead. More fun stuff to talk about as it pertains to the St. Louis Blues.
Goody.
First, let's start with Nick Kypreos, who came out with his new trade buzz.
Oh, buzz.
Not his trade board, his trade buzz on what's taking place across the NHL right now. He does have a little blurb on the St. Louis Blues, said, quote, we waited on the Blues to make a splash all last season, but they turned it around, got back into the playoffs, so the sell-off never actually happened. This time around, though, Doug Armstrong's last trade deadline as a GM could be different. Jordan Kyrou has a no-trade clause, but there is a sense that he may be softening on waiving it to go to a contending club. He wants to have a chance to win, and it's about time to wonder if a fresh start could be best for all sides involved. Whether it's Kyrou or Shin or any other Blue, Armstrong appears ready to move off some of his core players in the right deals. This leads us to the updated trade board from Chris Johnston over on The Athletic, Alex, where his number one player on the board, this is based upon both the value of the player and the likelihood that they end up getting dealt, Kiefer Sherwood.
That checks out. Sounds like he's
down that a little bit, though. Number 9 is Justin Falk. And number 11, a new addition to the Athletics trade board. First time that I believe we've seen him on one of these. Robert Thomas.
So he's higher up than Braden Shen.
Yes.
That is very noteworthy. If you're telling me that this trade board is based off of value/reality that the guy could get traded.
So, as always, players are listed by how closely they demand watching based upon their potential impact and the current amount of buzz around them. That is the way that they framed it
That
in
is
their own
very
writing.
noteworthy, in my opinion, that he is above Braden Shen.
Chris Johnston, about as plugged in as anybody in the business. He writes the following. Nothing is off the table in St. Louis, including a potential deal involving the team's top-line center. How likely that is depends on how you interpret the fact that his name has popped up in circulation again in chatter with rival teams. Thomas has experienced a slight dip in production this season, but he's coming off consecutive campaigns in which he exceeded 80 points. He possesses strong puck skills and vision, and he can handle the challenge of facing tough competition every night. It would take a serious offer to land Thomas in the prime of his career, but the Blues are open for business.
You asked me yesterday if somebody was missing from the Daily Faceoff trade board, and I said Robert Thomas. JR reported on this from the Last Minute Blues podcast episode that he said he thinks that the Blues are listening on everyone, including Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich. And I get it. I mean, if I'm Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen, this season is a disaster. This is going in the complete opposite direction of what their anticipation was, and the root of it is your top players not being your top players. He said it with Curbs and Joey. This is a top player-driven league, and our top players have not lived up to expectations. You have to explore this. I don't believe this is going to get done in season, if it gets done. This is speculation from the rumors. But there is a realistic chance that the Blues say, you know what, we got to go a different way. We have to transition to another core in the midst of us using this core as our template to start winning. There's been zero reason to believe that these top guys can carry you into a elongated run like the Blues saw back from 2011 all the way up to 2021 when the window closed. You've got to look at this. And if you've got Robert Thomas, it's probably one of the best trade chips in the National Hockey League because nobody else is trading a 26-year-old centerman who might be your top centerman, but most likely is a second-line center for another team. But
a contending team.
He's in the prime of their career. And we went into this yesterday because you asked me kind of off the top of my head, centers, and I think I mentioned it briefly, but the guy that I could kind of comp this to, if they go down this path, is when the Philadelphia Flyers traded away Mike Richards to the LA Kings. Mike Richards, in his tenure with the Flyers, 453 games played. He had 133 goals, 349 points, was a +39, a top centerman for the LA Kings. He was 26 years old. Robert Thomas, 506 games played, 117 goals, 426 points, a +44. Very identical in the types of players that they were, and the LA Kings were ready to start winning. They traded for Mike Richards. In return, the Philadelphia Flyers got back a 21-year-old Braden Shannon, a 23-year-old Wayne Simmons. If that's the comp that you can receive for a guy like Robert Thomas, I think you have to explore it because this team, you can't go back next season and say it'll be better. These guys are in the prime of their career now. Now, they got a big window of it from 26 to 32 is typically your prime. But in what area would this season make you believe that these guys are going to figure it out? So I understand his name being on this. Frankly, the same can be said about Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich. The Blues have to make a change. I don't believe this change is going to happen in season, but if this season continues to go the way it looks like it's going, I believe you have to make some type of move to this ilk.
The reason that I think it's really difficult to accomplish in season is because of the assets that you mentioned in return for Mike Richards.
Yeah.
Those guys are young players.
And by the way, that Richards play was in June.
Yeah, for a reason. The cap is just, it would make this extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. The guys that they got in return were young players that were on the ascent, but they're cheap. When you get young players in return, they're typically not on these long-term contracts worth $8 million per year. So either the Blues would have to take back a quote-unquote bad contract, or they have to make this kind of a move most likely in the offseason. Or they eat 50% of the salary, I guess, which just continues to up the ante. But that doesn't make sense for the Blues to do that. That's $4 million a year for like 6 years that you're eating in that
If you're
scenario.
eating the salary on somebody, you'd be doing that on Pavel Buchnevich.
Sure.
And you're not going to do that. You're not going to suffer the consequences of having that on your salary cap moving forward. Somebody asked this question, Magic Bean, serious question. If you do away with this core, what core do you truly have? It's the core that Doug Armstrong said
It is a fair question.
Oh, it's absolutely a fair question, but it's going out there and finding guys like what Shen and Wayne Simmons were at the time, 21 and 23, to play with 23-year-old Jake Neighbors, 22-year-old Jimmy Snuggerud, 20-year-old Otto Stenberg, Dalibor Dvorsky, 24-year-old Dylan Holloway. That's the core. You're in Broberg as the defenseman, Jiricek coming in, and you've got Joel Hofer, who doesn't typically have his pants on. You've got the core. Was I not supposed to make light of it?
That feels like one of those things where we've got to give a little more context.
Goalie pads ready to go in the net. Regardless, that's the core.
It's not a problem.
That's the core you're transitioning to. You're transitioning from 26, 25, and 28-year-old Buchnevich, Thomas, and Kyrou to, I'm sorry, Buch is not 28, 30 years old, to 23-year-old players and younger, and you're establishing that as the new nucleus of this team.
You're starting a full rebuild. That's what that is. You don't have a number one center.
Yeah, well, depending on what you get back in return. But, yeah.
The odds are extremely high. It's not a number one center. Otherwise, why am I trading for Robert Thomas?
Yeah.
If I have a number one center, I don't need Robert Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm trading away a number one center, why? Yeah, you would, in this scenario, probably have, I would assume they'd want to keep Pius Suter to make sure that they don't put Dalibor Dvorsky into a bad situation, because otherwise he would be your number one center on this team. You're probably going Pius Suter, Dalibor Dvorsky, Nick Bukestad as your top three center, something like that. And it's placeholders or the young player that you get in return. Maybe it is a third line center that it starts his career there. It would be a full-blown rebuild.
Yeah, somebody said give some modern comps on this. There are no modern comps for this.
Ryan O'Reilly is the closest thing that I can think of.
And he wasn't even 26 years old when he was traded away. He was 30 years old, I think, when the Blues acquired him from Buffalo, or maybe 29. He was not 26 years old at $8 million. I mean, O'Reilly was actually making a pretty decent amount of money at the time when they acquired him.
So was Thomas, though.
Yeah, but in this cap world,
Thomas is going to be a steal by the time you get to your.
Yeah, I mean,
this continues along when you acquire.
O'Reilly was 27. It's pretty comparable.
27. Okay, yeah. So I mean, a little bit more comparable with that one, but
yeah, Ryan O'Reilly's probably the closest thing that I can think of. They're similar in terms of the way that they're viewed around the league. Now there aren't as many issues with Thomas now as there were with O'Reilly at the time.
And O'Reilly didn't even have issues. He had issues with the Buffalo Sabres not being. He said, "I'm just sick of playing here."
I mean, when you say out loud, "I've fallen out of love with the game of hockey," there are going to be people within hockey that have that as a red flag.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whether you think that is fair or not, there are people in the league that certainly would view that as a red flag. And Thomas certainly has not had anything like that.
Yeah. Somebody brought up, what about JT Miller? Not so much when he was traded.
You want to talk about red flags?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually referencing what he did when he was traded from New York to Tampa, because he was 25 years old at the time, but he wasn't producing like Robert Thomas is producing, or has produced, I should say. He was more of a middle six center that was a 30 to 40 point producer, and then would just go off when he later on in his career. So there's just not a whole lot of comps. I think you're right. Ryan O'Reilly's the best one, but I look back at that Mike Richards one and I'm like, that's probably where you're at.
And they're similar. Like Braden Shen was a big time prospect at the time, the way that Tage Thompson was a big prospect at the time. And then you get another young player and like a pick or a veteran.
Yeah.
That's kind of the type of return that you should be expecting if you're looking at a Robert Thomas deal. Yeah. It's not going to blow your socks off, I don't think.
To me, the reason we're talking about this is going back to what you originally said. This is significant, at least from Chris Johnston's perspective, that his name is above Braden Shen's. I mean, we've heard everyone say that, oh, yeah, Braden Shen's name keeps popping up. If we're going off of reality that, this could happen / people calling, Robert Thomas being above Braden Shen's name is noteworthy.
Yeah. And I think it also, since we all kind of seem to agree that it's probably not an in-season move, also probably tells you what their goal of the offseason is if this continues to trend the way it's going, right? Sell off at the trade deadline and then have to move on from the current version of the core and start pivoting towards the one that we've just talked about, which is the younger one.
Not fun. Not fun. Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the junk drawer. NFL Quick Hitters next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues last night fall to the Chicago Blackhawks 7-3. They will be back in action tomorrow night as they visit the Utah Mammoth. We'll have pregame coverage tomorrow night starting at 7 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, then puck drop at 8 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And according to Robert Murray, the Cardinals and Andre Plante have agreed to a $4 million deal to avoid arbitration. They've also agreed to a deal with Lars Nootbaar at $5.35 million. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Let's dive into some NFL quick hitters alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Want to get this off of the top because, Alex, it was big news yesterday. I've seen a few texts about it. People know I'm a Chiefs fan, and Rashee Rice, if you missed it, there were allegations from his ex-girlfriend of domestic violence. And you can go find this all on social media. You can see some pictures that she took, and it doesn't look good for Rashee Rice. The team has said we're aware of the situation. We'll have no further comment. The NFL has said we're aware of the situation. We're investigating. If it comes out that this is true in any way, shape, or form, he should be gone.
Yeah.
That's my firm stance on the matter.
Not just from the Chiefs, from the league.
Sure, but as a Chiefs fan, like, people want to know my thoughts on the matter. The hypocritical nature of it all. Like, Rashee Rice is a really good football player. He's also seemingly a bit of a knucklehead at minimum.
I was going to say head case,
and
but same thing.
Bad guy at worst. So, again, if this is true, yeah, I absolutely believe he should not play for the Kansas City Chiefs ever again. So that's my firm stance on the matter. It's not a hard one to take.
Yeah.
As for the actual NFL, Alex, the big news today, Mike McDaniel has been fired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Yesterday, it came out that the Dolphins were one of the teams that maybe would be interested in John Harbaugh.
Why would they do that?
Now, the Dolphins want everybody to know we have not talked to John Harbaugh. This is not about John Harbaugh. This was an independent decision that was made. Please don't talk about it as it pertains to John Harbaugh. Alex,
no tampering.
Alex, do you think this is about John Harbaugh?
This is exactly about Tom Harbaugh. I love how they painted it, too, of like, well, it was an underperforming year for Mike Daniels. Yeah, sure. Then why wasn't he fired when all the other coaches were fired?
Yeah.
He wasn't fired until John Harbaugh was available. So, sure, you can continue to tell me that this is not about John Harbaugh. This is about her underperformance. No, this was all about John Harbaugh, and I can't wait until he's hired as the Miami Dolphins head coach in the next 48 hours.
I don't know why he would take that job, though. That's what I don't understand.
I was just
Maybe he just wants to live in Miami?
But
He's
it's
over
not
60.
bad.
I was going to say,
Go to your retirement home
He's going to
early.
be in Florida.
No
probably
state income
soon.
tax.
Yeah. Because I kind of had the same thought as, okay, why would he take this job? Right? Like, if they had a good foundation and you say, you know what, that guy does make us better, and we think he'll have interest in us, they have to be back channeling, in my opinion, that they have summary that he has some level of interest. Otherwise, I don't know if this makes sense. I don't think McDaniel's a good head coach, so I don't really care that they fired him. But if you don't have someone lined up, and then you, kind of as Alex said, you waited like a week before, or I guess 3 days before this ended up occurring, and he's already announced that he was going to be involved in their GM search as well. Feels kind of weird if you didn't actually talk with Harbaugh already and know that he has interest in the gig.
According to a brand new story that just posted on ESPN.com, top candidates include...
Don't say John Harbaugh.
Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, really well liked within their organization. Their offensive coordinator Frank Smith is interviewing for the job. John Harbaugh.
Oh, no, they said
could be an option. Browns defense coordinator Jim Schwartz. Broncos defense coordinator Vance Joseph. Mike McCarthy, rather,
Mike McDaniel's
is a potential option. So lots of candidates out there.
Did you see that the Titans are doing an interview with Arthur Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, good. We're going to go back down that path.
Yeah. They've also got an interview with Matt Nagy. Got an interview with Steve Spagnuolo, actually. I found that one to be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder also if you're the Dolphins, Did you get word on what's going on with the Packers? Did you get word on Mike Tomlin maybe?
But you would
are there other potential candidates that are coming onto the table that could be of interest?
I mean, maybe, but I feel like you'd fire them once those guys are available. Like, there's a chance that they don't become available and you keep Mike McDaniel. Like,
it's really weird.
It's weird that Harbaugh gets fired and then 24 hours later Mike McDaniel is fired. Like, come on.
No disagreement here.
Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
News from the Cardinals. Jojo Romero has reached an agreement with the team. $4.2 million on a one-year deal. This allows him to avoid arbitration before becoming a free agent next offseason. So again, news, $4.2 million for Jojo Romero with the Cardinals in 2026.
And
Alex,
real quick, according to Derek Gould, Brendan Donovan has avoided arbitration.
Oh, really?
Agrees to a 1 year, $5.8 million.
great. It's good news. So I
It's a
think
cheap guy to trade for right now.
I think the only guy not settled yet.
it's also
is,
nice if you're a new team. You don't have to worry about
That's
it.
why I figured they would get it done. That way you don't have to figure it out. So I think the only guys left that haven't agreed yet, and we'll see if it comes out here, is Gorman and Libby. I think those are the only two, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see here.
I could be wrong on Gorman. But,
Burleson.
Burley too. That's right.
Yeah, Burleson, Liberator, and Gorman, I believe, are the only players that still have not had anything announced publicly. That doesn't mean that they didn't get it done. It just means it hasn't at least leaked publicly just yet. Alex, over on ESPN.com, found this to be kind of interesting. I really like Bill Barnwell. I think he does excellent work for ESPN. I want to go through his Final Four in the NFL because he did his predictions on who he thinks will ultimately make it to championship weekend and then eventually the Super Bowl. Okay. In the AFC, his championship game, Bills versus the Patriots. He's got the Bills winning that one and going to the Super Bowl by a final score of 31-27. In the NFC, a rematch that we have seen 2 times already. Rams versus the Seahawks. And he has the Rams winning that one 24-10. Ultimately,
Rams ain't getting there.
he has the Rams winning it all 38-34 over the Buffalo Bills this year in the Super Bowl. What do you think?
I like the AFC side. That makes a lot of sense. Bills, Patriots. My dark horse is still the Texans and Bills, but I think the Bills will be representing for the Super Bowl. The NFC is the wild, wild west. If I had to predict now, I would go Seattle versus the 49ers. With the Seattle Seahawks getting the win over the 49ers, but throw a coin minus the Carolina Panthers and anybody could get there.
Yeah, I like it. I kind of think
course
you're
you
going to
would.
see this. I am a Rams fan, but I think they can still get there. I've lost a little faith based on the way they played the last 4 weeks. Like, I don't think it's a cupcake that they're playing the Panthers this weekend. I seem to be the only one thinking that. Well, the spread's at 10.5. They just lost to them a couple weeks ago. I think you're looking at them, and I think them and Seattle are probably the 2 best teams in the NFC. And Seattle's got the defense. I know we have questions about Sam Darnold. Darnold doesn't necessarily have to be great for them to win games in the playoffs. Can he be average? I think he can be. We saw that over the last couple of weeks in big games. So I can see that out of the NFC for sure. And then in the AFC, like, Josh Allen gets hot. Yeah, I can see where they end up getting to the Super Bowl. That's all it takes. Bills will go as far as Josh Allen will carry them. And that's a good horse to really attach yourself to.
I was listening to a podcast last night. They were breaking it down of like what the angles are for this year's playoffs. And the Jags-Bills game feels like the flip one. Because I don't think anybody has a firm handle on which of those 2 teams is going to win that game. And whoever wins it, I think has a real chance to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I just have no idea who's going to win. And honestly, the Patriots I feel kind of similarly about. I'm not sure they're going to get past the Chargers. Because I don't know that they have the pass rush to expose the Chargers' offensive line for what it is, which is an atrocity. It's a crime against humanity that they have that in front of Justin Herbert. It's not their fault. They got hurt, but it just sucks. If the Chargers were instead going up against the Texans, for example, no chance. They would get absolutely destroyed in that game. I just don't know that the Patriots are the matchup that necessarily scares me if I'm a Chargers fan. So the Patriots, I think, could get to the Super Bowl. They could also lose in round 1. Some of these matchups make it really difficult to predict who's ultimately going to get there. I almost feel the opposite about the NFC. T-Bone, we're on differing sides on this. I think the Rams, the Eagles, and the Packers are pretty easy picks in round 1. I feel really good about all 3 teams advancing to at least the divisional round. Now, beyond that, good luck. no idea what happens from there. But those three teams, I think, will advance to the divisional round. AFC,
Boy, wow, we're opposite because I think the AFC is easier to predict.
Really, too.
I don't think the Chargers can win with that
I don't
offensive
either.
line. And I think we're sleeping on the Patriots. That's why I like that Bart will put them in the AFC Championship game because they feel like the team that you look at, oh, well, easy schedule, that's why they win. Or they win because they're good, right?
They get the MVP at quarterback.
If you don't have a good team, you know what you don't do? You lose a lot of games that you shouldn't. And I think they are a very good football team that can get there. The other thing, too,
I think they're really good. I don't know, man.
Jags-Bills is the toughest one to call for me. I agree on that, but I am definitely going Patriots, and I'm definitely going Texans. The NFC, I think 49ers can win. I don't even think the Packers are winning. I am all in on Bears. They are now at plus odds. I am hammering that this weekend.
What is the impressive win on the Patriots schedule?
Buffalo.
Okay. Name the second one.
Hold on. Stall. I pull up the schedule here.
Because I agree. That first Buffalo win was really impressive. It was on the road against Buffalo. That's a really good win. Buffalo, for what it's worth, is not the same team that they've been in previous years. But I agree. It's a quality
They destroyed
win.
the playoff Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
That's about it.
The Panthers, by the way, have lost more games than they won this year.
What's the Chargers' big win? Don't tell me the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs?
No, it's not the Chiefs. The Eagles, at the time they beat them, weren't playing well, and you won that in overtime.
The Eagles are a good team, though.
The Broncos, Bo Pix was...
Are they?
Broncos are a good team, the number one seed in the AFC.
In September, when Bo Pix was living vicariously for Denver?
Yeah, that's
no
a good
way.
win.
Okay, well, then the Bills are the Patriots over the Bills.
Win.
Well, it's the same amount as the Chargers win then.
But Chargers have two.
No, I'm not giving them the Eagles one.
Yeah,
This Patriots team, I think we may come out of this saying, oh, God, how did we not see that? It feels very much like the Vikings from a few years ago, the Giants from a few years ago.
I don't feel that way about them. I think the eye test tells me they're a better football team.
What do they do really well?
Josh Allen? Oh, I'm sorry, the
Drake May.
Patriots. Drake May? It's significantly better than Justin
Chargers.
Herbert.
What did the Chiefs do well last year? Defense. But outside of that, I mean, it was Mahomes. That was the Mahomes show.
Also, if we're going to sit here and shoot down...
Also, they had championship pedigree. This is the first time I've seen this Patriots
If we're going to
team do this.
shoot down Sam Darnold in the playoffs, then I'm not going to sit here and believe in Justin Herbert, who's got 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in 2 playoff games and has lost both of them.
Fair. I'm not believing in the Chargers offense so much as I don't know how this Patriots offense is going to look in a playoff situation. That's my fear. My fear is, will they be able to look in the playoffs the way that they did for much of this regular season? Because they went up against some terrible defenses to be able to put up the numbers that they did. In fact, the worst defensive schedule in the NFL belongs to the New England Patriots. That's not to completely discredit them. Drake May should be a top 2 candidate for the MVP. He should be. I absolutely believe that. But now if we're then projecting forward, not evaluating the season, but projecting forward, what does it mean? Yeah, I'm going to use that as a little bit of a knock against him on how I think they will perform once we get to the playoffs.
This is just because BK in one of his 18,000 mitten leagues loaded up on Chargers players.
Oh, what a mistake that would be.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Chad Powers over on the YouTube chat says, do BK and Ferrario have a pick-em pool for the playoffs? No, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put together, we will make our picks. It won't be for an actual punishment or anything like that. I'm going to put together a spreadsheet for the postseason so that way we can see how we all do.
That way BK can really brag if he ends up being right about the
or never
Patriots
reference it
or the
again if it goes
Jags.
poorly.
Or act like he never said it when it goes poorly.
Exactly.
I never said that. The
Told ya.
Packers? I've never liked the Packers. The Packers? No
Never
way.
believed in him. Didn't say it. You can't find any audio
They've
of it.
got to
Please
fire Matt LaFleur.
burn all of those tapes, please.
Oh, no. T-Bone will make a 45-minute open for that one.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, the Cubs just put a whole lot of pressure on themselves to make a big signing this offseason. We'll get into that in about 15 minutes. The Junk Show is next year on 101 ESPN. It's time to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Somebody asked me yesterday, what is your New Year's resolution this year? For me, it's trying to make sure that I maintain exactly what I had last year and try to get in a little better strength situation as well. Getting back into the gym, doing all of the things that I used to do but got a little bit away from. For you, maybe it is dealing with those weight loss issues that you had last year. You want to lose some of that unwanted weight. Maybe you gained it over the holiday season. Totally cool. Happens to the best of us. Well, they can potentially help you out with that over at Victory Men's Health. Even if it's not that, everybody's got different things that it means for you to unlock your inner champion. The erectile dysfunction issues, they can help you out with that. Low testosterone symptoms, they can find out where you're at on that healthy range for adult men and put in a plan that works for you. They also have vitamin infusions, a supplement shop, red light therapy programs, cardiovascular testing. It's all available for you today over at Victory Men's Health. Check them out. Book that first appointment online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. T-Bone, what do you have for us today in the junk drawer?
Well, guys, I'm going to stick with some football here for the junk drawer, and I'm curious if you guys would have any interest in this. It was announced yesterday. Peacock, who of course is the home to where you can stream Sunday Night Football on, announced that they are going to add a feature change for subscribers to potentially be able to mute the announcers.
Oh, I saw this.
And change it to where you could pump up the crowd noise rather than listening to the announcers.
I have no interest in this.
That
Do
would
you
be
guys?
that would be
I don't either.
that'd be annoying.
Okay, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that felt that way when I saw it. I have no interest in it.
Look, I mean, I know that there's some rough announcing tandems, but it's not bad enough to where I would want to mute it and listen to crowd noise the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know what the target audience is for this. Like, who is sitting at home watching the game, wants to hear sound, but does not want to hear the announcers. I can understand if you just want it on mute because you've got other things going on, you're hanging out with your kid, whatever you're doing. People have stuff going on in their lives. Like, that makes sense to me. I get that. But having it on in the background and having the sound up, but only having it on the crowd, I don't know.
That would be annoying.
Yeah, I get like they're maybe trying to make you feel like you're there.
Sure.
But I don't know. I would feel like it wouldn't have the same juice. Like when you're at the game, right? You can feed off of what everybody else is around you, right? The energy that's at
It's not just the noise. It's the fact that you were there watching the game.
There's nothing else happening. It's just you watching with a bunch of loud people screaming from wherever the game might be being played at. So I saw this. I found it interesting of like what they're trying to do and that they're going to provide this as an option for people. I was curious if how many people actually have interest in it because I'm with you guys. I have no appeal for this.
I just don't know what the play is on it. Like, I'm doing this because X, Y, and Z.
I could see the appeal if you could like switch the announcers. If I could go from the national announcers to I can hear my local announcers on the game and I could just switch the audio, that would make sense to me, but there would be no incentive for Peacock to do something like that. They want you to hear their announcers. They're employing them. They are paying them significant dollars to be a part of this program.
We need to make it like it used to be on those Garmins. Did you ever have one of those like GPS things that you would put on there? You could change the voice of the navigator.
You can do that on your phone, too.
Yeah, they need to do it to where, like, I'm listening to Yakov Smirnov to broadcast the game or something like that.
I'm curious, are they going to do this? Because, NBC is becoming the home of Sunday Night Baseball this year. Surely they're not doing this for baseball, right? Could you imagine that? That'd be almost like a ASMR thing I'd put on to help me fall asleep. There's literally like no energy.
In the summer taking naps.
Nap time. Oh, I'm at Phillies game? All right, I'll just click to no announcers.
In 15 minutes, we'll get into Believe It or Not. By the way, if you guys want to get involved in Beat the Blues, text in right now, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. All you got to do, text in I Can Beat the Blues. We'll pick a few of you at random to go up against Justin Falk today. Whoever wins ultimately will go home with the grand prize today, which is a signed hockey puck by Justin Falk and tickets to see the Blues play. We'll get into that in 30 minutes. We'll get your texts right now. Coming up next, the Cubs just put a whole lot of pressure on themselves to go out there and get the big bat that they're lacking. We'll tell you about it next year on 101 ESPN. The Cubs just put a lot of pressure on themselves, Alex. That doesn't mean it's the wrong move, but when you go out and trade one of your top prospects, the guy who you said internally was going to replace Kyle Tucker, and you give him up to acquire Edward Cabrera, a pitcher from the Miami Marlins, who has been good, but he's more about the underlying stuff and your belief that he will get better than he is about what he's already proven. Boy, you better be right. And you better go out there and add Bo Bichette, or go out there and add Alex Bregman, or bring back Kyle Tucker. Because if you don't have the offense this upcoming season, I think there will be a lot of fans that turn their attention to the Cubs and say, well, why'd you make this move? What was all of this about in the end? They're still $30 million below the luxury tax. What do you think yesterday's move signaled for the Chicago Cubs?
Well, we need to go out there and we need to go out there and re-engage with Kyle Tucker, that we have to go get the bat. Like, to me, I've always questioned the decision to not bring back Kyle Tucker for the Cubs, because looking at how their offense was last year, everyone was talking about Pete Crow Armstrong and how unbelievable that offense was. To me, it was that way because the year prior, they were underwhelming offense. And then they bring in Kyle Tucker, and it just put everything into place. And when you pluck that middle-of-the-order bat that makes everyone else better, now what? Now you're reverting everybody back to what they were. And I always thought it was strange to go to a young player and say, we need you to be what Kyle Tucker was. That's not going to happen. So now you trade that piece to a fan base that's expecting you to be good again next year for a pitcher, which is great. I think you needed to make sure that they saw last year what happens when you get injuries and you can't withstand or sustain that. But now I look at their offense and I say, yeah, now you got nothing. Now you're relying on Pete Crow Armstrong to be what he was in the early portion of the season, to be a star. You're relying on some of these other guys to be a star. So what it signaled was, cool, I like the aggressiveness. I like when you go out there and do something. But, man, you better back it up by going out there and finding the bat that was Kyle Tucker, because now you don't have anything in the middle of your batting order.
Yeah, I think this tells me they're going to be making a big swing for one of those guys, whether it's Tucker, Bichette. I think Bellinger. They seem to be connected to Bellinger. I think they may think Bellinger might be that guy.
I believe they go back down that path.
I agree. You're pitching, guiding it. You know, we saw this as a theme of last year's regular season. If you have good pitching and not a great offense, you can get to October. But you got to hit once you get to October. And more importantly, you got to slug when you get to October. And I wouldn't be betting on PCA to become that guy. You know, PCA's got a ton of swing and miss in his game. His profile, I said this a lot when he was on to his hot start in the first half of the year. His profile reminds me a lot of Javi Baez, which if it all works out, great. He could go off for a great year where he's getting MVP votes for 162 games. There's also a chance he could have a year like Javi Baez had when he got to Detroit. And he's just not the same player, doesn't hit for a bunch of power, and he's more defense first than he is anything else.
Carson Kelly better be good again.
That's who you're relying on. Wolf.
Michael Busch better be a superstar again, because those guys had career years last year, and it carried their offense to ultimately becoming what it was. And then you had Kyle Tucker that was a part of it. And for the first half, Pete Crow Armstrong was a legit MVP candidate based upon his offensive performance. Last year very well may be the high watermark for Michael Busch, for Carson Kelly, for Pete Crow Armstrong. And if that is indeed the case, you get worse in all three of those areas, and you have no Kyle Tucker now. The replacement that you had internally for Kyle Tucker is now gone, and you get a pitcher in return. If they go out and sign one of the guys that I mentioned, they sign Bo Bichette, they sign Alex Bregman, they sign Kyle Tucker back, all of this makes sense. And we'll look back and say, damn, hell of an offseason by the Cubs, honestly. You end up with Edward Cabrera, who helps your rotation a ton. You get Shota Imanaga back on a slightly cheaper deal than what you were otherwise expecting. You also have fewer years on that deal than you otherwise would have had. And you end up getting the big bat that they were missing. Cool. Great move. Good offseason. And they have added like 27 different relievers, just throwing numbers at the problem that was their bullpen from a year ago. If they don't, I think we'll look back on this and say, man, what? You lost the plot. You upgraded your rotation, but you didn't do the thing that ultimately held you back down the stretch last year, which is that you couldn't hit. Right now, Seiya Suzuki's going to have to be one of their outfielders. That's fine from a bat perspective. He's not the defender that they want in the outfield. They did this last year where they said, we don't want that guy playing in the outfield for us anymore because we want to be more of a run suppression team. That is their motto. Like it's the way they want to play. Right now, though, they don't seem to have that option. They don't have an alternative in the outfield currently. They have nobody else that can go out there for them. So it's going to be interesting. By the way, did you guys see the projections for wins above replacement in the rotation for 2026?
No, how are we looking? Are we looking good?
Got to be high up there. They got Dustin May, man.
Well, I said the other day, I think the Cardinals rotation could be better in 2026 than it was in 2025, and maybe that will be the case.
But
You're not selling me on this very well.
According to these projections, they're 29th.
Who's worse?
The Rockies.
Oh, jeez. Well, as we all know, war, what is it good for?
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
You're darn tootin' T-Bone.
That one matches what I think.
The Red Sox are number one.
Really?
After adding Sonny Gray.
What's their? Do they have the rotation there? Because it's Gray, Bayo. Who am I forgetting?
They do not have it listed on here. I'll have to.
God, you wouldn't believe that they're number one for how Boston reacted to Sonny Gray trade.
Garrett Crochet, Sonny Gray,
I forgot about Crochet.
Brian Bayo, Johan Oviedo, Patrick Sandoval.
They have Oviedo. I forgot they.
And they've got Houck and Cutter Crawford on the injured list right now. So
It's not a bad rotation.
it's a very good rotation. The Dodgers
first
number
place
2,
rotation.
Tigers number 3, Phillies 4, Blue Jays at number 5.
Where did the Tigers fall if they trade Scooble?
Oh, a little far.
Right with us, probably.
Yeah, far down the list.
Flaherty would become their number one.
Oh,
I would
Flaherty had a
imagine
bad year.
he's
Been there.
projected for like 7-ish wins, something like that.
Probably.
6-7 wins.
Still want to revisit that Flaherty back to the St. Louis Cardinals, T-Bone?
It did not go well for him last year, but they have Casey Mize, Reese Olson. They've got some young guys that are at least interesting. Jackson Jobe maybe eventually, but nobody like Tark Skubal. That guy's in a different class than everybody else across Major League Baseball right now. You guys think this is legit? Would you currently project them as one of the 3 worst starting rotations in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, as of right now, I would. I don't know what it looks like once we get out. I mean, if Dustin May's better than what we expect, then I think you could raise that standard up a little bit. But yeah, I think Andre Palante, you know what he is. I know we're excited about. Why am I blanking on the
Fitz.
other? No, not Fitz. The guy who pitched last year, McGreevy. I think some of that might dip a little bit in terms of what we saw for a short sample size last year.
I just don't know who, for them not to be bottom 5, who's the guy that really surprises me in their current rotation?
Quinn Matthews or Liam Doyle.
Well, not like in their current rotation.
Oh,
I
in their
agree.
current
When those guys
rotation,
get there,
yeah.
I mean, that might be the thing that prevents them from being like a bottom 5 rotation is when they get kind of
Or another trade if
mid-season
they
reinforcements.
get a pitcher
Sure.
from Brendan Donovan.
But like right now, like I think I know what Fitz is probably going to be. I've got a good idea. I actually think there's probably a better chance in regression than improvement for McGreevy on the stat line, just because he pitches to so much contact and he relies on BABIP. Liberatore, like I don't know, is that guy going to be able to like not lose his velo after the third inning?
And make it through a full season.
Yeah, Palante's going to walk the world. So like I just don't know who the guy is that surprises me. That's not a guy that's coming mid-season as you kind of refer
BK,
to.
tell us why they're going to be top half of the league.
Yeah.
Top half seems
and
aggressive.
May-
Not bottom 3. Not bottom 3. I could make that case for you.
So like bottom 5. Is that what you're going to sell me on?
Bottom 8.
Ooh, that's a 75 win
Nothing
team.
like a bottom 8 starting rotation with like a potential bottom 10 offense. Let's
case-
go Cardinals.
Feel the burn.
Feel the bird. Yes. What a hashtag. You should pass that along right now. Hashtag feel the bird.
The case for the Cardinals is the following. Last year for Dustin May was about him getting healthy and finally making it through a full season. And now that he's added back his strength and that muscle, he's going to look the part of the former top 100 prospects that he was. And he ends up with a low 4s ERA. That's not asking too much. I think that's okay. Like a low 4 ERA.
Sounds like a top half war to me.
Matthew Liberatore, after having a full season as a starting pitcher, figures out how to maintain his velo the way that he did at the beginning of the season, and again, is a low 4 ERA this upcoming season. Again, not asking too much out of him, just simply maintaining what he was for the first 60% of the season.
That's only been a problem for him his entire big league career, but sure, maybe this year.
This time, it will be different.
This will be the year.
Michael McGreevy figures out a way to get lefties out this season. Don't know what it's going to be
easy.
but he figures something out and has a low 4s ERA. You sensing a theme here? Beyond that, Richard Fitz is basically what he was when healthy last season for the Boston Red Sox. and one of Andre Palante, Kyle Leahy, Quinn Matthews surprises us a little bit.
Who's the other arm we're forgetting? Isn't there another arm we acquired from Boston?
Yes, but he's in like AA, AAA.
Oh, I thought he was already. No. Well, then I got no expectations for him.
So yeah, that's your case.
What a sell.
That's your case for them to have a mid-4s ERA.
I will say, you did say one name that I did forget about that I could see like it does surprise me, and that would be Leahy. That he just ends up being a really good starter.
I think he's going to be a bullpen arm.
If you have,
I think he's got the stuff, I think.
If you had a 4.2 ERA last season as a staff, that would put you 19th in Major League Baseball. Last season, the Cardinals, as a staff, were at a 4.7. That put them 25th. I think they could be slightly better than that, and they could end up in that like 20 to 25 range. I'm not telling you they're going to be good. I want to make this very clear. This is not me making the case for why the Cardinals rotation is going to shock the world.
This sounds an awful lot like me at the beginning of the Blues
this
season.
segment didn't make me feel good about anything.
Okay.
Burleson signs Burleson arbitration signs $3.5 million.
All right, let's go Cardinals.
All they've got left now is Gorman and Libby.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That hasn't been announced yet.
Gorman, they have to pay a lot. He's a 40 home run hitter, right, T-Bone?
Oh.
Avoiding arbitration with everybody, that'd be positive. Oh, here you go. Derek Gould. Cardinals have reached agreement with all 7 of their ARB players. That group includes Donnie, Newt, Romero, Palante, Liberator, Gorman, and Burleson. No hearings this year for the Cardinals.
I thought he was going to say, here we go, Derek Gould reporting that Burleson signed his arbitration. Now I was about to jump across this room.
Hunter Dobbins is the pitcher that you're talking about, T-Bone.
That's right.
Hunter Dobbins.
I knew there was someone else forgetting. Coming back from a
And he could be
injury.
decent, too.
Yeah, decent. We should make T-shirts for the rotation.
I don't know when he's going to be back, though.
Decent.
Hashtag feel the bird.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Believe it or not, next.
BK football playoffs are officially here. We got some college football playoff action later on tonight. NFL all weekend. I know BK is spending way too much time, which is a good thing, over on the Underdog app. And it is the best place to get in on all of this gridiron action. And you can make those entries and play in the state of Missouri now. So BK, of course, I go to Ole Miss Miami tonight. I open up the app. First of all, 40% profit boost. Boom. Thank you, Underdog. So then I make my entry. I'm going lower on pass yards for both Carson Beck and Trinidad Chambliss. Indianapolis, and I'm going higher on field goals made by Carter Davis and higher than 55.5 receiving yards with Harrison Wallace III. All those 4 plays with my profit boost, 15-1 odds.
It's that easy. Go to the Underdog app today, download it, use our promo code BKO to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. It's promo code BKO Underdog, where you make plays and win money. Alex, by the way, over on the Underdog app, I had a promo as well. It was a reveal the deal. 1 yard. 1 yard is all that Saquon Barkley has to get. Higher for me, I win that play. It's all on the Underdog app. Must be 18 or older, present in Missouri. Terms to apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
I don't know if I remember the words.
People thought we'd forget this.
There's a good chance.
We did.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
Doesn't hit the same way when I'm not standing because my broken toe, dude. My toe is really hurting today.
You told us last week your toe was fine.
Yeah, it's not fine.
Who we running recently?
Yesterday I did go on a run. It wasn't that though. So I was playing with Luca.
You stubbed it on the same thing that you broke it the first time.
Had no issues there. Then we went upstairs. We're getting ready for bedtime. Alex, you know how this goes. We had one of his. He calls them. Muffins, they're bobos. They're these little like oat bar things. We had one of them on a table. He ate that one. Then he saw the wrapper up there, said, I want that one. I said, buddy, it's just a wrapper. But I was holding him and he reached over for it. He was holding his baby doll at the time, dropped the baby doll to try to grab the wrapper. Baby doll goes straight down onto my toe.
Was he carrying a lead baby doll?
More or less, yeah.
Okay, good.
That is why it's very
That's
cool.
trash, man. You stood earlier.
True.
And you just decide to opt out. You've been sitting for the last hour. Your toe's been fine. Commit to the damn show.
I've been sitting since about 11:30.
No, you started off at from 11 to 11:45.
314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. Guys, believe it or not, SLU will make it to the Sweet 16 this year.
I'm going to say not believe it. As much as I like what SLU is doing, when you get into the tournament, things are a little different. Now, anybody can win, but that's some elite competition you might be going up against compared to the A10. So I'll say not believe it. I think they win a game.
Tough part. I think this is going to be chalk again, and they're going to get a lower seed just because they're in the A10. But I'll say believe it. I think they've got the talent to do that. The problem is they can't have a slip up to get to the tournament, a.k.a. they cannot lose in the A10 tournament. But I'll say believe it. I think they are that talented they can get there.
They are roughly in the same spot as VCU was a year ago. If you just look at like KenPom rankings plus kind of projected record, VCU last year was 34 in KenPom, 28-7 overall. You might even see a slightly better record than that from SLU this season. And right now, if you're looking at where they're ranked, they are at 32. So in both metrics, slightly better than where VCU was a year ago. Unfortunately, given their conference, that puts you in line for a potential double-digit seed. Last year, VCU was an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament. If you win that first-round matchup, though, suddenly you are in a spot where you've got a pretty advantageous run, potentially. I'll say believe it. I'm a believer in this team, man. They are really good. They have incredible shooting. That is the first step toward pulling off some potential upsets. I'm going to believe it. I think they have a great coach, really good shooters, and a legit go-to guy that they can build around in Robbie Avila. Alex?
Guys, believe it or not, When Otto Stenberg's in the prime of his career, he'll be a point-per-game player.
Oh, not.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe it either. I really like Stenberg, but I think you're talking a guy that's more of 50, 60 points, not 80 points, point-per-game guy.
I'm going to believe it. I go back to that comp that Jim Montgomery's made of him, saying like he's high-side Jesper Bratt. And if you look at what Jesper Bratt did when he was in the Swedish Hockey League, which he never played at the top, he was always the second tier. He was never a goal scorer. Otto Stenberg was in the Swedish Hockey League. I think he can be a guy, depending on the team around him, I think he could be what Jesper Bratt is, which is 75 to 85 points a season.
Wow.
Which would be a hell of a steal. I mean, Jesper Bratt was a 6th-round pick, and last year he put up 88 points. So this was a first-round pick that the Blues deemed pretty significant. So I'm going to believe this one. I do see a lot of this Jesper Bratt in him. I think he's got more assists, though, than he does goals in him, which could be a positive.
Yeah, I think if he gets to 50 points, I'd be pretty happy. I think that would be a win for the Blues, for him to be a middle six winger that plays responsibly, good in his own end, can play in any situation and puts up 50-plus points a year. That's what I'm hoping for. That's kind of what I'm currently anticipating. If he gets to 80, like, hot damn, that's a huge win for the St. Louis Blues.
Shut up, Walrus King. I never said Logan Brown was a point-per-game player.
No, just the best acquisition of Doug Armstrong's career.
Had the chance to be.
Yeah,
Did not. T-Bone?
True.
Had the chance.
Guys, believe it or
Preseason,
not,
he had the chance.
those decent Cardinals will finish in last place in the NL Central this year. For context, because I know you're probably thinking, well, how bad were the Pirates last year? The Pirates were 71-91 and finished last in the NL Central.
Believe it.
Yeah, believe it. And the Pirates, I think, improved somewhat. Brought in a couple of pieces offensively, better pitching. Yeah, believe it.
I agree.
I think I would believe it as well. I still think the Pirates are as bad as they were last year, but I think it'll be a race to the bottom of the NL Central.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not from the 636. Believe it or not, Hunter Dobbins will be in the rotation on opening day. I'll say not. He's coming off of a torn ACL. I think it was a torn ACL, if I remember correctly. Right. I think it'd be great if he's able to be a starting pitcher for the Cardinals next year. There's no reason whatsoever to rush it. Give him as much time as he needs to be 100% ready to go. So, yeah, no, I'm going to say not.
I'm going to say not as well. And even if he is ready to go, because I think he's already throwing, if I'm not mistaken, then he's got to beat out, like he'll be in the mix of the competition between Palante, Leahy, Fitz potentially. Like he's got to beat out like one or two guys.
If he's 100% healthy, I think he will be in the rotation. I just don't anticipate that he's going to be 100% healthy by opening day.
Yeah,
I think they slow play it with it for that injury too, and I think they just keep him as like the 6th or 7th guy, and then midway through the season he gets called up.
July 11th. For a lot of guys, you're coming back in roughly 9 months. Even if you say that it's 9 months, that's April. Opening day is before then.
I think he's already ahead of schedule. That's why, I think there's probably a decent chance.
Allegedly. It's all fine and good until you actually get into the heat of the competition.
So he shows up to the medicals for
when has the Cardinals medical staff ever really followed through with one of their things?
This was from Hunter Dobbin. I'm not saying the Cardinals said. I think
players
it was from
are
Dobbin.
Notoriously overconfident in their ability to get back to 100%.
I think he's a real man. He's back early, baby.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. Guys, believe it or not, the Blues will trade 2 top-line players and a goaltender by the deadline. I'll say not. I don't think they trade 2 top-line players by the deadline.
No. I don't think they're going to trade a goaltender at the deadline either.
Yeah,
I know people want Binnington gone because he's bad. If you don't have a backup, you're in deep-ish in this league, especially if your team's bad. So I don't think they trade a goaltender, and you're not getting 2 top-line players out of this team.
So I'm not going to believe it. I don't think they're trading 2 top-line players. I don't know about the goaltending. I don't think they would not trade Binnington because they don't have a backup. Because I think if any of that helps your case to get worse and ruin your chance or get a better chance at a higher pick, I think you can go sign a backup in the offseason to be with Hofer. Or the other option is, we talked about this when Alex got mad at us for bringing up Skinner as a potential trade guy. You could just acquire a goalie in that deal, right? You take the other team's backup and send them Binnington, and then you've got your guy with them.
How is our boy Stuart Skinner doing over in Pittsburgh?
Got to be excellent.
Look at the I know Tristan Jarry got hurt. 874 save percentage in Pittsburgh.
Is that worse than Binnington?
Yeah.
Are we sure?
I don't know.
I think that's roughly what Jordan Binnington's has been on the season.
871, so it is worse.
It's better.
Oh, yeah. Well, I meant Binnington was worse than Skinner.
Yeah. Ouch.
Last night was the one that took the cake, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He shouldn't have had that 7th go in. Hofer had his stuff on. It was only 6. It's probably right around the same.
Wait, hold on. It's supposed to come out after the 7th.
Correct. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Believe it or not, Joe Burrow will be traded to the 49ers for Brock Purdy and draft picks. That'd be fun, but no.
Oh, my gosh.
Why would Cincinnati do that?
I don't know, but Burrow in that offense?
That would be. I'd like to see Burrow with Shanahan. That's for
awesome.
sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe it. I don't see it happening.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. Last one here. Believe it or not, Ole Miss will win tonight against Miami. I heard Tim say that he's got a pretty significant wager that he placed on Miami prior to the announcement of the college football playoff because he believed they would get in, and they were well under the market value if he thought they were going to get in. So he's trying to figure out if he's going to hedge this or not. Do you believe it or not, Ole Miss will win tonight?
I'm going to say believe it.
You think Ole Miss wins?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss wins.
I'm saying
I
not.
think they got the better quarterback.
I do agree they have the better quarterback, but I don't know that it's enough because we just watched Ole Miss bully, and I mean bully Ohio State.
Miami bully them.
Miami bully Ohio State. If they're bullying Ohio State, they're really going to have a field day on Ole Miss because I don't think that O-line is as good. No, I don't think so. And Ole Miss defense isn't good enough to really keep this thing a low-scoring game.
I'm going to say not believe this as well. I might be overcorrecting here because I wasn't sure that Miami... I didn't believe in them necessarily. Now that I've seen them against a couple of high-level competition, I really believed in both Ohio State and Texas A&M. So they've made a believer out of me, though their line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive lines, are as good as anybody that played this year in college football. And they have shown up in the biggest possible way on the biggest stage. I'll believe it one more time. I do think they end up winning tonight, so I'll say not believe it with Ole Miss coming away with a victory. Out of curiosity, if you guys were in Tim's shoes, I don't know what the exact numbers are. I'm just going to put these out there because he's talked about it on air. He mentioned it earlier today. It's 4 figures. It's thousands of dollars that are potentially available to him to win if Miami wins it all.
I'd just spend it on a Disney World trip.
Tonight, he can basically guarantee himself the potential of a few $1,000 if he were to bet on Ole Miss. Would you do that, or would you let it ride and continue along?
I'm always for making sure I'm making money. So if I have to hedge and make sure I make a couple of thousand,
that's kind of where I'm at.
I want to profit. I always profit. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I sit at a blackjack table.
It was a long shot bet.
Yeah.
If this is one where it was even odds and you just really believed, you had fortitude about, hey, Miami's going to win it all this year, then I think you maybe stick with it.
Here would be my question. Do you think that he gets a better payout if they win this week and go to the national championship?
So I don't know exactly what it was. I don't know
if he does. The reason I asked that question, because if you think you're going to get a little bit of a boost if they win tonight, I would wait because I think they win tonight. I don't think they're beating Indiana. That's when I would say off the table. I would get out.
Yeah, I would hedge tonight. Yep, I would hedge against Ole Miss.
If I'm making a couple $1,000, absolutely I hedge.
It's kind of
I'm winning and I don't care, and I'm not looking back.
Let it ride.
Too much of a wimp.
Yeah, no, I don't let it ride. Not in this economy.
On some bets, on most bets, honestly, if it's $100 or $50 or something, I let it ride. Thousands of dollars, that can actually really impact your day-to-day life. I would go ahead and hedge
maybe
on
for
that
Tim, though,
scenario.
it doesn't. It's just like our dollars. So maybe Tim can just let it go.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Beat the Blues next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about Classic Air Care, the HVAC company that I've been using since 2016, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926. And I speak so highly of them, but check out the thousands of 5-star reviews that they have over on their website, over on their Google Plus page. This one from Danielle. An exceptional experience with Michael, who came to support me with my thermostat, and it stopped working. From the moment he arrived, professional, friendly, easy to connect with, genuinely cared about helping me me understand what was happening and took the time to walk me through each next step to ensure my heating and cooling system was working properly. Knowledge, patience, and authentic concern for the customer set him apart. So call them today. Get that exceptional customer service for something as important as your HVAC system. They're always reminding you, too, to make sure you're changing that furnace filter to make sure you maintain the lifespan of the unit that you have in your home. They've got 100 vans on the road. They get back to you within 24 hours. They're open 7 days a week with after-hour techs on call. Schedule online today. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you on 101 ESPN, Classic Air Care, and ClassicAirCare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues fell to the Blackhawks last night 7-3. They will be back in action tomorrow night when they visit the Utah Mammoth. We'll have pregame coverage tomorrow night starting at 7 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 8 o'clock with Chris Carver and Joey Vitale. And according to Derek Gould, the Cardinals have reached an agreement on a contract with all 7 of their ARB-eligible players. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Time for Beat the Blues. We do this each and every week on BK and Ferrario with Alex and T-Bone on BK. Winner will go home today with a signed hockey puck by Justin Falk and tickets to see the Blues versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. That game coming up on January the 16th. Today we will have 3 contestants, Greg, Kevin, and Buzz. They will all be going up against Justin Falk head-to-head. It's a very simple game. We'll give you a category. You name as many different things within that category in 15 seconds as you can. Whoever comes away with the greatest margin of victory against Justin Falk today will ultimately be going home with our grand prize, the signed hockey puck and tickets to see the Blues versus the Lightning on January 16th.
And fingers crossed, no ties.
Fingers crossed. We'll figure that out as we go along here. All right, let's start out with Greg. Greg, you're going up against Justin Falk today. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing very well.
It's raining out today, Greg, so BK's having a great day.
I like it.
It's gray out, stormy out.
I'm not baking in the sun.
BK is just happy.
The blinds, that doesn't work. Greg, do you understand the rules of the game?
I think so.
Okay, well, Greg, this is on you if you lose, man.
Greg, your category today, breakfast items. Name as many breakfast items as you can in 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go.
Sausage, pancake, eggs, cereal, milk, orange juice, bagels, strudels, coffee, tea, sugar.
I'll give them sugar because that's pretty much everything.
I had 11.
I had 11 as well. Would you have just gone through names of cereal? That's what I was thinking.
Oh, that's a good
when you
way to
said
go
that,
about it.
he said cereal. I'm like, oh yeah, I would just start naming off every cereal brand
It's a
I
nice
could.
loophole item there.
All right. Got 11, Greg.
Well done. You did understand the rules of the game, man. No doubt about that.
Also didn't say waffles, and waffles superior to pancakes.
My son eats
Hot
waffle
take.
most days.
Bleep pancakes. Waffles are better.
Better than chocolate chip pancakes. Wow.
You're 5. Is that when you eat healthier?
Put him in a smiley face.
Yeah, oh.
No, the bananas are the smiley faces.
Oh, no bananas.
Whipped
Get those
cream.
out of there.
Oh,
Whipped cream for
absolutely
sure.
whipped cream with sprinkles, too.
All right, let's hear from Justin Falk. Does he know his breakfast items?
Pancakes, waffles, eggs, yogurt, bacon, sausage, hash browns, donuts,
Oh, nice.
cinnamon rolls, coffee, tea, juice.
Juice!
All right, I had him with a 12.
Yeah, 12.
Minus 1.
It's a minus
If my
1
math's
overall.
correct here.
Justin Falk's really good at this game.
Yeah, he always is.
He's a
Well,
fun one to play
I didn't
with.
keep the one where he gave us literally 3. It was things you would pack for. I'll see if I can find it by the end of this.
Didn't he give up?
Things that knows things you pack for vacation. He goes. I can't remember what the first one was. Toothpaste, underwear, and then he looks at us and goes, "That's all you need." End of game.
Yeah. That's when Justin Falk said, I'm done doing this.
All right, let's hear from Kevin. Kevin, welcome into the show. Appreciate you being a part of it, man. How you doing today?
Kevin, if you hung up on us, Kevin.
Kevo.
Kevin might be at a negative infinity.
Kevin, you officially lose.
Buzz, welcome to the show.
Buzz!
Appreciate you being a part of it, man. How you doing today?
What's up, boys? How are we?
We're doing great. How are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks.
Absolutely. Buzz, you're going up against Justin Falk today. Do you understand the rules of the game?
Oh, Buzz, I lost
boy.
you. Buzz,
you still there?
Buzz, get your cell signal in place.
Yeah, right here.
Buzz, let's try this one more time. You still there, my man?
Yeah, I'm right here.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
No anger, Buzz. We're just trying to get the content down.
All right, Buzz, your category today. Name as many different things as you can that have wheels. Things with wheels. On your mark, get set, go.
Car, truck, scooter, bike, van, moped, motorcycle.
He's heating up.
Oh, man.
Oh, he got stage fright.
It's okay. It's okay.
Tough category.
You Sam Darnold it, but
It
it's
is.
all right, buddy.
Buzz, you got 7. That's not a bad round.
No, but if I know Justin Falk.
We'll see. You need at least Justin Falk to get 8 or fewer to stay in contention.
Let's hope it's not 8.
Really hoping it's not 8. Let's hear from Justin Falk.
Bikes, scooters, cars, cheese,
Oh, creative points.
wagons, wheelbarrows,
Uh-oh, BK.
trailers.
Oh, he did it again! buzzer.
That's a 7. That means it's an even between Buzz and Justin Falk. T-Bone, do we have Kevo?
Kevin?
Kevin is not there.
Kevin, you got 10 seconds.
Let me try recall.
1. Do we
Here's the
give
deal.
Kevin the recall?
Kevin didn't answer. We're up against it.
Yeah.
I think this is very simple.
The Wet Bandits got a hold of Kevin, and he's not back.
He gave his best shot. He didn't find a way to win. Let's go ahead and hear Justin Falk for the heck of it. How did he do with sodas?
Kevin would have got 5.
Category today was sodas.
Squirt, Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Fanta, RC Cola.
He had 7, and I said Kevin would have got 5. That's a -2. So it's simple. Buzz wins.
Congratulations, Buzz.
Yeah.
Baby. Woo. Yeah. All right, Buzz, you're going home today with a signed hockey puck by Justin Falk and free tickets to see the St. Louis Blues play against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I want to thank Kevin as well.
We all want to thank Kevin.
As you should. All right, Buzz, stay on the line. We'll get your information here in just a little bit. Make sure that we've got you all set up for that Blues game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and so you can come by and get that signed hockey puck by Justin Falk.
To infinity and beyond, Buzz.
Coming up next, the Rewind here on 101 ESPN. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com. The free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. So sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
What we were just talking about off air, that could have been a really great dad pod.
I've been telling you for the last year, man, you want to have a successful podcast, let's do Dad Pod.
It's not something we could do on the radio.
No, God, no.
But
I don't
for
even know.
a dad pod where it is on demand, it's not on the radio, it could be pretty good.
I don't even know if that would last on the Dad Pod if it was associated with the station.
Might last longer. Who's to say?
Sometimes it works.
Alex, what would you give today's show? What grade?
9.3. 9.3. 6.9.
Alex.
What?
I will say 7. It's gotten off the rails.
7?
It's gone off the rails.
What the hell,
BK
man?
made me double break here earlier today.
That's true.
That was
did
from
happen.
Gold. We got everything.
Joey Vitale was awesome for about 6 minutes. He had a hard out. And
I was going to say, not because it was only 6 minutes of him being good.
No. He was great. Jamie came in right after, and he told an excellent story. We got some information on the goalie situation with Benner, Hofer, maybe hiding, probably trying to figure out if he was still needed at
Also,
the time.
maybe didn't want to get yelled at Jim Montgomery.
Yeah, whatever the case may be. So if you missed any of our thoughts on all of that, check it out on the podcast page. Those are all there. We also talked a little bit about Robert Thomas's name popping up on the trade board. Talked about the Blues having a pretty horrific goal differential on the season, the likes of which every team in the last decade that had a similar goal differential at this point, they all picked in the top 10, and all but one of them ended up in the top 5 of that year's NHL draft lottery. So if recent history is any indication, the Blues are very much
It's going to be the Stenberg connection next year.
expected to be a legit
Ivar and
top
Otto.
5 selection. We also talked about Mizzou and SLU. Big wins for both programs last night. I think Mizzou was a little more important, but SLU's told us more about what kind of a team they are right now, and that has significant impact on what they're going to be the rest of the way. All right, Alex, before we hand things over to the fast lane, we do have a big game tonight. College football playoff semifinal match. Ole Miss versus Miami. Both of these teams, honestly, in their own right, are kind of a Cinderella story. Who do you got? Who you got in this game? Miami is a 3-point favorite against, Miami a 3-point favorite against Ole Miss in the Fiesta
I got
Bowl.
Ole Miss. I think they have the better quarterback, and for me, I understand Miami's got the best offensive line, defensive line, but I think the quarterback is what it comes down to, and I'll give Chambliss the upper hand. And frankly, I really want to see Lane Kiffin watch Ole Miss go to the championship.
Amazing.
I unfortunately think it's going to come to an end for Ole Miss tonight. I like Miami. I love them on the spread at -3. I think they win by a touchdown. I think they just bully Ole Miss in this one. I also love the under. I don't think Ole Miss is scoring a ton of points.
I like the over, but I do like Miami. I'm with T-Bone on that side of things. I like them minus the 3 points as well. I think they win and cover the spread. I think that the trenches are where this game will ultimately be won. I think that's probably going to be the case in both of the games that we witness over the weekend. I think Indiana is better in the trenches than Oregon. And I think Miami tonight is slightly better in the significantly better in the trenches than Ole Miss as well. We will have a new updated edition of the Redbird Report later on today. You can check out the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast and today's podcast. It's all available for you at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. I believe Jim Montgomery is expected to be on the fast lane today, so stay tuned for that. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you tomorrow. The fast lane's next year on 101 ESPN.
Toothpaste, toothbrush, and underwear. That's all you need.